out. Everybody.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Lights Out. I'm your host, Josh.
And I'm your host, Austin.
And Danny is out today. He's very, very sick. He's doing all right. He'll be back next week. But nevertheless, we have a very special episode for you today. You know, a new friend of ours has joined us on the show. Welcome, Dan Cummins, to Lights Out.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah.
We are so stoked. You know, we were talking earlier, and, you know, Dan is a podcaster as well as been podcasting for, how many years now?
A little over 8 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Started.
16, was it?
Yes, 2016. I had some other podcasts years before that, but like very short runs in the early days. And I was like, I kind of gave up on them quick, but consistently for 8 years. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So he's been doing it longer than I have, which is wild. And this is the first time we've had a fellow podcaster on the show, which we're super stoked about because we've got an amazing story for you today. And if you're not familiar with Dan currently hosts two podcasts, Time Suck and Scared to Death, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And really great shows, similar content for sure. Lots of crossover.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, you have a very similar vibe, I think. Especially talking at breakfast this morning, I'm like, oh yeah, very much birds of a similar feather. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
And you're also a stand-up comedian.
Yeah. I toured for years and years and years, taking a little break from touring now just to focus on podcasting. But I started doing stand-up back in 2000, so a long time ago.
Wow.
That was the first open mic. You guys are probably, what, grade school?
I think I was 7.
Yeah, we're barely hitting elementary school.
Yeah.
Well, this is the perfect episode to have a stand-up comedian on because we're going to be talking about the most experienced experiencer when it comes to the paranormal alien abductions in history.
Mm-hmm.
Ever.
The champion,
Ever.
The world champion.
Yeah.
The world champion, Stan Romanek. Which, the funny thing about Stan Romanek is, so I covered him on my other podcast, Mile Higher, about 5 years ago, and for some reason, at least on YouTube, it seems like the majority of the content surrounding him, the clips, all of the great evidence that he presented is all been like wiped clean off the internet, surprisingly. So like some of the clips that we're going to be showing you today, we had to, or I guess we were able to get around that, right? We don't have to play those clips anymore. So.
Yeah. Oh, well, there are still a few from Mile Higher. Yeah. Because I couldn't find some interviews. They're just gone.
That's very interesting.
It's the government. The government's trying to shut him down.
And like, spoiler alert, this guy is a convicted sex offender. So maybe that's other channels trying to be like, ooh, we got to kind of scrub that clean. So maybe we lost a lot of footage just because of that fallout.
Or the Men in Black.
Or
Or their online division.
Yeah.
Their YouTube department scripted. Like, we got to get rid of this.
Just a Man in Black. Just one guy is their YouTube guy.
Yeah. Just one. Just too much evidence. The world's not ready to see this captivating evidence. Because that's the really interesting thing about Stan is, you know, typically with alien abduction stories, people come forward and they're like, this crazy thing happened to me. I was beamed out of my bed. I was operated on by a bunch of beings on a spacecraft. But yet there's no evidence outside of just their verbal testimony.
Right.
You know?
Right. And usually just one instance, maybe the aliens come back, but generally it's like they had one extreme instance. I don't know what happened. You know, I can't explain it. And then that's it.
Yeah.
But not Stan.
I always think are the more convincing.
Me too.
ones. They're like, I'm a skeptic and this weird thing happened to me that I can't explain. And then it never happened again. I'm like, okay, we should check out this story.
Yeah. They seem a little embarrassed about it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like people are going to think I'm a nut.
Right.
Like, those always seem the most credible to me.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing to know too, is like even going into this, like I think we all believe to some extent that an alien abduction is possible.
Oh yeah, 100%.
We should ask, Dan, do you believe in
Yes.
You believe in aliens?
Even before Scared to Death, I was a little skeptical on like the paranormal, like ghosts and other kind of like supernatural entities. But aliens have always made sense to me. It's just because of the number of planets, we don't know how many, just the infinite, you know, nature of the universe. I'm like, there's got to be other things out there.
Yeah.
And
statistically probable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so
it's like it has to.
Totally. So I'm very, very much believe that there are extraterrestrial life and that they have visited our planet.
Same.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm a bit iffy on the visiting our planet.
Okay.
Just because of political fallout and the theories of like dark forest theory of like people actually finding us and just annihilating our planet immediately. Things like that kind of.
Like you think if aliens were visiting us, they would have already knocked us out?
I think, you know, communication, like whatever interstellar communication, if they'd be like, hey, we found this kind of like, they haven't really progressed their rocketry enough. They can't do much yet, but we see what they do to each other and they're going to be a problem in the future. So like some other alien planets, like we can hit them with a massive laser shot from a million star years away and just eviscerate. I think that's what realistically would happen if aliens did make contact and know we were here.
But maybe they're so advanced that they like look at us like a little kid and they're like, okay, or like a teenager and they're having some rough teenager, but they're going to work it out and they'll get more advanced in time. Like if they just leave us alone.
Yeah.
My wife and I go back and forth on this. She's always worried about aliens because she thinks like they're just nefarious. I don't know. She's worried that they're always going to be bad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, who's to say that they couldn't be really good? Or they couldn't just be you know, they check on us, pop in, see like what's going on, and then just leave.
Oh yeah. See, so I do think that they're good. And then they see
us
us
and they see that
they're
we're
like,
bad.
oh my God, look what they do to each other. And then we're gone.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you think that they'd be smart enough to understand why that's the case? Because I think humanity as a whole, I don't think it's necessarily that we're inherently evil or inherently bad, right?
True.
Like we've just been led down a bad, dark path because of other humans. But aliens would be able to assess that and be like, they've just got a lot of dumb fucks running things that everybody's following. Right?
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, well, why wouldn't they just intervene at that point and like, let's set the record straight and set us right on the path? But I think there's some type of universal law of like, you can't fuck with other civilizations. You got to kind of let them progress and let them figure their shit out so that they're naturally able to evolve to join the rest of the, you know, interplanetary civilizations in the universe, you know. And maybe they're kind of visiting and checking in with us to kind of plant hints and sort of, you know, give us a little breadcrumb trail to follow, and hopefully, you know, people start, you know, opening their minds a little bit and start thinking outside the box. And like, maybe I'm not the end all when it comes to intelligent life in the universe. Cause there's actually surprisingly a lot of people who think we're it, you know, like we're the top of the food chain. We're the smartest beings in this universe, and that there's no intelligent life elsewhere.
Yeah.
So,
and I think those are the same people that like back in medieval times were like, no, the universe revolves around Earth.
Yeah.
Right. It's just us. Yeah. It's just us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then Galileo came in and they're like, who is this guy telling us that we go around the sun? Yeah.
And you know, their weaponry could be so advanced, to your point earlier, Austin. It's like that even our advancement isn't a threat to them. Like they wouldn't need to take us out because they have such incredible weaponry that we won't be a threat to them just ever. You know, like some kind of force fields and all kinds of stuff.
Or I don't know, I kind of envision them as they have this like UN somewhere.
Oh,
and they have like a risk management team.
The Jedi Council.
Exactly. And then they kind of look at, you know, through telescopes, like, okay, we're keeping our eyes on these planet systems and where they're at. And they kind of have risk management of like, oh, so they have nuclear fission. They figured that out. Oh, and then they used it on each other. Okay, we're gonna give them a few bumps in the red or something. Like, I think they might be watching us like that if it is, but I don't know if they're coming to Earth and like interacting with us. I think it might be like through a telescope very far away, kind of observing us through light. And
I'm picturing the Martian from Looney Tunes now. Like remember he would watch with that big long telescope,
like that. Yeah,
he's like, okay, with his little Roman hat.
So then, in your mind, there is not a possibility that any of these alien abduction stories are legit, that these are people having some type of other experience. I would have to be convinced that the resources that they're using to send a ship through space, light years, would be worth it to come here and do what exactly? Yeah,
like,
well, what are they accomplishing by abducting these people? And, you know, people would argue genetic experiments, taking DNA, doing testing on humans.
Breeding programs.
It's like the Jacques Cousteau of like the alien world, you know, like I just picture like there's these rove spaceships where they're just explorers.
Yeah.
They're just like just like the ancient explorers from Earth. There are people, you know, always trying to find something new. Yeah. It's just the alien version of that. They're just curious.
But wouldn't you do it with a unmanned spacecraft instead. If you're really just observing, you just do it through visuals and crafts, like unmanned crafts. That's why I don't know if they're taking just information, why even send a manned vessel? Is my question.
Well, and there could be multiple civilizations visiting us. Yeah, so there could be some that, because I think some of the UFO sightings could be unmanned alien technology of some sort, like drones, whatever it may be, just by the look of it. Or some have even argued that maybe they have biological craft, so they look like they're just made out of metal, but it's actually an intelligent biological being.
It's like Nope.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So where it looks to us like a drone, but it's actually an intelligent living being, so to speak.
I like that idea.
I hope there's at least one that's like just that horny William Shatner, Captain Kirk, that is just looking for new species to have sex with. Like he always managed to find the sexy alien.
He's like, they're really hot, and they also have some social problems we got to go figure out. And that's like every episode of Star Trek ever.
This fucking TikTok app. What is going on?
Just some alien across the galaxy that just like somehow connects to Pornhub. Like, what are they doing?
This is wild. I
gotta go check this out.
But I think a lot of the experiencers, you can, you look at their stories, and there's so many similarities between different people, going all the way back to like, probably the most notable one and sort of the beginning of where a lot of the lore began. You talk about Roswell, then you move up to Betty and Barney Hill. That's really where it set off. So then anything beyond that, you start wondering how much of these, if these experiences weren't legit and they were made up, how much is it drawing inspiration from prior events?
It was like 1947 or somewhere around
47
there.
was Roswell, and then 67, I want to say, was Barney and Betty Hill.
But that was where a lot of the ufology lore came from, and our culture is from that era. So you do wonder like how much of it is copycat stuff. Well, and especially like you referenced like the Hills, where Stanley, he saw what is it, Betty or
we'll
get I'm jumping ahead.
But you're probably like, all right, who is Stanley? Let's talk a little bit about who Stanley is.
This guy.
So just if you're watching, you're listening, the way we're going to do this episode is Dan's just going to be a part of like a normal episode with us. So we're not doing any like interviewing. That was the interview at the beginning there. But we're going to take you through the whole story of Stanley Romanek, which is full name, Stanley Tiger.
I know.
Romanek.
There's no way his middle name is Tiger. That was one of the things I was like, I have to talk about that. First lie. Stanley Tiger Romanek. It's like, I need to see a birth certificate to believe that.
Yeah, for sure.
I've a middle name of Tiger. That he definitely added that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. I picture him having like one of those jackets, like the silk kind of 70s jacket with the embroidered tiger across the back, like the martial arts jackets.
Yeah.
And he would say he had to like fight some guy to get it or something, and that's how he got his Tiger name. Yeah, that's a fake tough guy.
If
move.
only he was that cool.
Yeah, I know.
Especially like his father is a military guy too, and The only thing I can think of is like maybe because wasn't there was some type of plane that was a Tiger or something, wasn't there? Like,
there was a fighter that was like a World War II.
So that's what was my only
Tiger.
What's the?
So there's a little bit of plausibility.
That's what I'm saying is like maybe because his dad, his family was military,
but also was his family military? Because we're just taking his word for that.
True.
Can't. Verifying claims tougher than it looks.
Yeah, because also if you wanted to obscure your backstory, I do think about that. Claiming to be a military brat is such an easy thing to do, because then you don't have to worry about like, well, where are his childhood friends? Where's the person who he grew up with that could come and be like, this guy is so full of shit. Not that he wasn't, bouncing around with the military. He could have a middle name of Tiger. But if I'm going to try to, create this new identity for myself, that's not a bad choice to give yourself that backstory.
Yeah,
and like, well, there's not people coming out of the woodwork because we bounced around so much. I didn't really get to connect with people and make long lasting friendships. And that's why I don't have names for you.
That is fair. That's a fair point.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. Cause if you think, so Stanley, he's from Colorado. Mm-hmm. He was born in Aurora, Colorado. I've actually been to the hospital that he was born in. So there is an Air Force base here in Aurora, and there's a big VA hospital over there. in Aurora as well.
I picture you going to the hospital like, do you guys remember a baby named Tiger?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Stan.
We have his picture on the wall.
The Hall of Fame. He's the toughest baby we ever, he punched his way out. He's the strongest baby we ever had in this hospital.
There was a strange creature by his bedside.
Right, communicating to him.
His mom and his dad, the alien, Tiger.
Yeah, so Stan was born December 1st, 1962 in Aurora, Colorado at a military hospital. And, to Dan's point, because he's from Colorado, it would be very easy to like know where the military hospital is if he was making all this up.
Yeah.
Maybe he was really born there, maybe he wasn't. But, there's a lot of Air Force bases here in Colorado.
Yeah.
Down the Springs, which he ends up down in the Springs as well. And so there's enough here that if you're familiar with it, you could probably concoct this
build some
background story for yourself.
Yeah.
So
I think it's important to establish that we kind of think Stan's a big liar. So like take everything with a grain of salt.
I think he's totally legit. Totally legit.
Totally.
And I think if people are like just hearing this out the gate and like, why are they going so hard? It's like, you'll find out.
It's because, we know the story already. So so just bear with us once we get into this.
Can you name every subscription you have? I know I can't name all mine. I've had so many over the years. And I'm not alone. There's a lot of people out there who don't know how many subscriptions they're paying for. In fact, 74% of people have subscriptions that they've forgotten about. But with Rocket Money, I don't have to worry about that anymore because Rocket Money, once I got my accounts connected to it, my credit cards, my bank account, I was able to see a list of all the subscriptions I was paying for, and it was way more than I ever could have imagined. There was a subscription on there that I had been paying for like 4 years for a supplement, and the supplement was going to my old address. And I didn't even know about it. And so with Rocket Money, in just a couple taps, I was able to have Rocket Money go and cancel that subscription for me. So I don't have to be paying for something I'm not even using or getting anymore. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel those unwanted subscriptions. It also monitors your spending and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. With Rocket Money, you can easily create a personalized budget with custom categories so that you can keep your spending on track, and you can see your monthly spending trends in each category to know exactly where your money is going. So, you can see where groceries, how much you're spending on gas, how much you're spending on rent, and you can really customize it based on whatever your need is. You also get alerts if your bills increase in price, which is really useful. So if there's some sort of unusual activity going on, Rocket Money will alert you, and then you can reach out to the utilities company and figure out what happened with your bill that month. There's also a new goals feature, which automatically saves money for you without you having to think about it. Whether your goal is to pay off credit card debt, put away money for a house, or just build your savings, Rocket Money makes it easy. One of my favorite features is that Rocket Money will actually go and try to negotiate lower bills for you, sometimes by up to 20%. They automatically scan your bills to find opportunities to save, and then you can ask them to negotiate for you. And they'll even deal with customer service. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and it saves a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/lightsout. That's rocketmoney.com/lightsout. rocketmoney.com/lightsout. So according to Stan, he was the youngest of 4 children. His father was an Air Force officer, and so his family moved around the country quite a bit, as many people in the military do, which Tom is here as well. He is a military family as well, so he knows exactly what that's like. But yeah, so he moved around a bunch. During his childhood, he lived in the Midwest and the Western United States throughout it and into adulthood. So according to him, he had severe dyslexia from a young age. And if you're not familiar with that, this means struggle. My wife has dyslexia, so I know how real and tough it is to have dyslexia. It makes you struggle with reading, writing, and comprehending text. He also claimed that one of his teachers made fun of him in front of his class and then threw him in a closet because he had difficulty with reading.
No way.
No, it's a victim complex, like immediately to garner sympathy.
He jumps. I feel like these people who I think are like pathological liars, they always take the lie just a little bit too far. Like they could have made it plausible, and then they add that one extra detail.
Too dramatic,
and it's like, okay, teacher making fun of him in front of the class. His age, teachers used to be more hardcore. Like like when my uncle's dad and stuff were going to school, it's like, okay, I can see they're spanking kids in the classroom. grabbing him by the ear, pulling him out of their chair.
Ruler to the knuckle.
Ruler to the knuckle. All very real. It's the throwing him in the closet where I'm like,
that just
no.
over the edge.
That's insane.
Right, yeah.
Where to have the teacher, this poor little kid, can't read. And they're like, oh, look at stupid little Stanley. He can't read.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, ha, ha, ha.
Yeah.
And then he Tommy, open the closet door. Okay, Mr. Williams, fuck, get in there. And just like throws him in there. You're going to stay in the dumb closet for the rest of class. That never happened.
Yeah, it's like Matilda. She gets thrown like the Iron Maiden, right? It's so dramatic.
So dramatic.
It seems ridiculous.
If he had just left it at like the teacher didn't understand my learning disability,
was mean to me.
I was bullied by the kids in class.
Totally.
And
totally.
My teacher wasn't the nicest person to me.
Yep.
We'd probably
sure.
be like, okay, that seems legit.
Makes sense.
Yeah. To be thrown into a closet is kind of unheard of. I mean, there was a teacher
Who does
fired.
that?
Right. And she even called him a word, which we won't use anymore. That was according to him.
Hard R?
Hard R word as he was thrown.
On.
Yeah.
No,
so
that did not happen.
Right. So it seems like it's even more ridiculous.
That was a mistake he made there, too, because that wasn't a slur when he was a kid.
Right. That was just a normal, that's what they said.
That came a lot later.
That came came later. I believe that came in like the 80s and stuff. But for a while, like that was like a clinical term.
Right.
And then it came out of just like, the root of that word is like it's slower. The machinery is slower, whatever, it morphed out of that. And I don't think I've never heard like my dad's generation or a little bit lower referencing that word because it was something they said as a kid.
Yeah.
It was something like, I was in grade school in the 80s and then, high school in the 90s. That word was thrown around constantly.
Right.
But like, so he's got his dates wrong. So that's another liars. It's like,
inconsistencies.
Inconsistencies. They're not like taking time to really like fact check and make sure that like, did this thing I referenced, was that even a thing at that time?
Right.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
Well, because of this constant bullying and being thrown in the closet, Stan just didn't do well academically, and he found an interest in more artistic, creative hobbies that interest him. So he's basically setting up this idea that I'm not book smart, but I'm very artistic and creative, which I don't know really helps him in this case. Of like, especially as we go further in his story of like, oh, he's an artsy, creative guy, very creative,
super creative, yeah,
good at crafting, good at making little models,
good at telling stories,
yeah.
So, according to him, when he lived in Los Angeles, California, and this gets fucking wild here, his father was stationed at a military base there, and apparently he was raised in the middle of rising gang violence between the Crips and the Bloods. And apparently he became a target of physical violence while living there. Quite often.
There's claims he was in the crossfire, and there was one like video he did where he referenced like getting stabbed, like gang violence. The closest that Stanley Tiger came to the Blood and Crips type world was like watching CB4 and Friday.
Yeah.
Like there's no way this guy was in the middle. And that's just, again, that's like a lazy thing where when he was young, age-wise, so he's talking about like in the 70s, that's like early days.
Really early.
Of the Bloods and Crips kind of,
that's when it was first starting, essentially. Yeah.
I think like those terms really kind of got out there in the vernacular later. And so I feel like, again, when he was coming up with these lies, he was like, oh yeah, what's the most, noteworthy gangs I can think of? Oh, Bloods and Crips.
Of course.
Yeah.
And he just threw himself into the, like, if he would have, again, if he would have like, even referenced which set of the Crips, or which set of the Bloods, any specifics at all, but it's just these generic. Who are the scariest gangs right now? Bloods and Crips. That's who was after me. Okay, Tiger.
And it's Debo coming around on his bicycle, coming around. You got knocked.
I know exactly. That happened to him. That was based on Stan.
So what is he just like walking around as a teenager and just like, oh, just go down this street. Oh,
right.
Crips and Bloods.
Gang activity.
Oh shit! I just got shot.
Yeah,
right.
It doesn't make any sense.
That's ridiculous.
And if any of that had happened, he would have been able to produce a news article. Some type of reporter would have been like, Stanley Tiger Romanek murdered or stabbed.
Like a police report or something. Yeah. But we actually do have this clip of him talking about it.
This is gonna. If you've never heard of Stan before, this is going to help you understand
Yes.
why we're coming at it the way we are.
I was always put in classes with, in special ed classes with the retarded kids. I remember I had a teacher make fun of me in front of the class and then grab me and throw me in a closet and lock me in a closet and said, "This is where we put retards." And yeah, it was terrifying. It was horrible. It was a horrible experience. And I had gang members around me all the time because of the neighborhood we lived in. I had the Crips on one side, the Bloods on the other, and they were constantly fighting amongst themselves. And I was always not stab wounds and stuff like that. I was always caught in the crossfires. And they used to pick on me a lot because, number one, I was the only white kid. Number two, I had a learning disability. And I had to learn to fight because of it. Everybody beat me up, and then I started beating everybody else up, including the principal of high school I went to. So it wasn't good. I was kind of a punk. And just because I was, kind of angry at my life, because of all the constant violence and all the, having to deal with everything that I had to deal with, I was frustrated. I calmed down somewhat and just kind of found my own way.
When you look at that past, did it make you a better person? How did it help you?
I honestly think certain people are chosen for certain things, and I had to go through what I went through so I could understand the human condition. So the role that I play now, without that understanding, I couldn't, the message that I have, I couldn't give the message out correctly, I believe.
Wow. The trials and tribulations of Stan Romanek.
Yeah. Going through what he did.
What a hero.
Strong Uncle Rico vibes. Like, Coach will let me play.
Throw that football
over that mountain.
Yeah, over that mountain. Yeah.
It's just, that is the story you tell if you've never been to a big city. You have no idea, like, what, living in a gang-riddled neighborhood is like.
Yeah.
Just the stupid thing of, like, it killed me. We said Crips on one side and Bloods on the other.
Like, right across the street?
Which doesn't happen.
No.
They're like, one will control one neighborhood, one will control. That is just like the cartoonish version.
Yeah.
Where just like little Stanley walking out there and just bing, bing, dodging bullets. Yeah. Oh, stop it, Crips. Yeah. Come on, Bloods.
It's like the GTA San Andreas version of reality.
And he's just like, and then stab wounds.
On his forearm? Yeah. When people like come up with the gang members and they stab you on your forearm?
Yeah.
I love how he just casually is like, yeah, I went from getting beat up to beating up everybody.
No.
Like he's trying to act so hardcore about it.
I'm not a tough guy. I could punch Stan's head off of his shoulders.
Oh, for sure.
I would just punch him in the chest and just cave in his ribcage.
Yeah.
Like, he's beating up no one.
Well, I mean, anybody that's ever been in a fight doesn't talk like that. Doesn't just say shit like that.
Right.
Like, it's so obvious that that's such a foreign idea to him that it's like a dead giveaway.
The really tough people are always like the quietest.
Yeah, they're not like, oh yeah, then I just started whooping ass and
totally.
Like they don't talk about it because they don't need to.
Right.
Yeah, that personality, like, never. Oh my God. There was this guy, I worked with my dad at construction a little bit in Idaho when I was like a teenager. And there was this guy, Albert, quietest guy, didn't look super muscular, prematurely gray, kind of balding. You would think just like whatever, just average guy. Heard all these stories about how he was special forces, Vietnam, never from him. Whoa. It was like stories out there. Mm-hmm. And then my dad one time at this like potluck, small town stuff, this guy, Albert, had a very beautiful wife, much younger. And these two Forest Service guys from out of town were hitting on her and being kind of gross, I guess, as he's sitting down there eating his little potluck meal and like, oh, is this your dad kind of thing? This is like a real tough guy. He didn't say a word. He stood up, threw 2 punches, knocked both of them out. Like, punched both of them in the chin, sat back down, and started eating his food again.
Yeah, exactly.
And he would never talk like that.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, same. No. I knew Walter Brown, rest in peace. He was a World War II veteran. He lived next door to my grandma. He was a tank commander on Iwo Jima.
Oh my God!
I didn't even know about it until they had to cross-reference some. They lost a bunch of records in a fire.
Yeah,
so they had to come to him and ask him his story so they could get the service records all oriented correctly. And we watched the DVD of his interview, and I was like, I kept doing
shit. That's you.
I know. I kept doing double takes over to Walter. He was the sweetest guy, very reserved, very quiet. I was like, what? He's telling me about how he like took a flamethrower and hit a sniper's nest and crawled back into his tank and like all these crazy stories that you would never expect. It's the tough guys you kind of. Yeah,
Stanley, reserved. Not those vibes.
Not those vibes. Not at all.
Which this is laying the groundwork for the rest of his story, because he's basically explaining, he's like, I had to go through all of these trials and tribulations to basically understand what my real purpose here on this planet is.
Yeah, right.
I've been through the shit.
Yeah.
And, I had to do that in order to find myself and find out what my true calling is.
So I could raise the vibrational frequency for all of us.
That's right. Bring the aliens in. Well, it goes even further. So according to him, he has said that he is part Cree, which most of us know that's a Native American indigenous people who primarily live in Canada. And in his 20s, this is great. I want to so bad find his album. But
me too. I tried.
I couldn't find it.
I tried too. I couldn't find it.
It's gone.
I got to check eBay. Maybe eBay's got it.
Yeah.
But he played the Native American flute, which is awesome. I love Native American flute music. And there's a picture floating out there of his
beautiful
album art here.
Look at the hair.
The hair.
Incredible.
The dramatic side turn.
Yeah.
That's not the profile of a guy who kicks a lot of ass.
No. He's sensitive. And look, like, it looks like this was made in Microsoft Word or something.
Yeah.
You're right.
Totally. Maybe. Oh my God, that's exactly it. Yeah.
So who knows if he actually made an album or not? Maybe he just made one in Microsoft Word.
Right.
I'm 99% sure that imagery he has on the album cover too, that little figure with the flute, is from Hopi, like southwestern U.S.
Yeah.
That is not Cree.
So he's not even getting.
He picked one tribe. He's like, okay, I'm this tribe, and then he just picked imagery from a tribe in a completely different part of the continent.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure.
That's a good eye if you picked up.
No,
on
I
that.
think you're actually right on that.
Yeah, because there's a name for that.
Yes.
Shoot, it's like a entity. It's like
it is. Oh, fuck, what is it called?
They have it in it's like a pictograph of it or something.
No,
petroglyph or
I think so.
Like
yeah,
that.
it is from the Southwest. I remember seeing it in Arizona. Like you'll see it on like spas and stuff. But there's a backstory to it. There's
something
a whole lore to it.
Chuli.
Yeah. Kokopelli.
Yes, that's what it is. Yeah.
Oh.
Kokopelli and that Puebloan.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Actually, this is great. That's right. Puebloan, which would have been like the Anasazi, so that would have been like Colorado area, and then further down south. So he would have been familiar with that imagery just from living in Colorado.
Yeah.
But the Cree were never in Colorado.
No, they're up in Canada.
Right.
So
and down in Montana, but like not that far.
Yeah.
So that's a funny thing too. That's just kind of like the Bloods and Crips.
Yeah. Just kind of pulling wherever he wants to pull from.
Yep.
Ever in Colorado? No. AI is saying no. There was never Cree in Colorado.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know indigenous Native Americans, they have a name. They actually try and find these people out. They're called, they call them pretendians. And there's actually
pretendians. That is great.
There's a group of Native Americans who go out and they try and find people who are trying to say like, "Hey, I'm actually."
It's like stolen valor.
Yeah, exactly. And so then they put them on blast and say, "No, this guy's full of shit."
Yep.
Well, based on our quick little 5-minute analysis, it seems very likely that he just made this up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep, exactly. Just Bloods and Crips all over again.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. He just took like, okay, this Kokopelli figure that is associated with the flute from the southwestern U.S. and then came up with a tribe that is not in the right part of the continent and never were for that imagery to make sense. Mm-hmm.
Sounds about right.
It tracks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On brand for Stan.
Definitely. So as for his belief in aliens and UFOs early on, he said that when he was young, he thought it was all just a bunch of bullshit. He thought people who believed in aliens and supernatural were just flat out crazy, which is kind of convenient, and he was taught that God was the only person that made us, and that was it.
Yeah.
There's just God and us, basically, and that's it. But then his own personal experiences with alien encounters and UFOs throughout his life quickly opened him up to the idea that we're not alone in this universe. So fast forwarding to the 2000s, Stan had married a woman named Lisa, had a single bio daughter, 2 stepdaughters, and 1 stepson. And for a while, they all lived together in Colorado Springs. He ended up writing several books about his loving list of bizarre experiences with aliens and UFOs. And really what put him on the map was when he showed up on Larry King Live on an episode in 2008, which I wonder how all that went down. Did he reach out to them, or did they find him and we're like,
we'll get into that a little bit later, but Colorado was actually trying to push some legislation for like a commission for UFOs and aliens. Okay. And so the guy who was kind of front running that picked Stan to come on Larry King Live with him so they could kind of promote this commission that they wanted to pass.
How much would he regret that?
Spoiler alert, that commission got slaughtered under the vote, and they were like, absolutely not, we're not doing this. But I think that's how it panned out for that.
Larry King was looking to fill a lot of airtime. Yeah. You know, he's doing shows every day. He's
right.
It was a slow news week that week.
Exactly.
So then, fast forward to 2013, they did a documentary with Stan Romanek, which used to be out there for streaming and has been completely removed because you used to be able to get it on Amazon or on Prime Video. I think it was where I saw it a couple years ago.
Wasn't it on Netflix for a time too? Like right at the
I think it was
like very early, but then they took it down.
And now it's been scrubbed clean of the internet except for BitChute as itself.
Yeah. And I'm sure he would say that like the government is why you can't find it. I would say after trying to watch it multiple times, it's due to the abysmal quality. I would say it's the worst documentary I've ever watched, but I couldn't watch it all. It's the worst documentary I've ever tried to watch all of it.
Couldn't get through it. Yeah.
No narrator, just like this clunked together scenes of just almost gibberish. It's like, that's why it was taken off. As those streaming services grew, they cleaned the worst content out and tried to replace it with better stuff.
For sure.
Is what I would think.
For sure.
Or the government.
Yeah, the film actually has a IMDb rating of 3.9, and that's probably being generous.
That's generous.
That's high.
That's very generous.
3.9.
I was guessing that when you brought up IMDb, I'm like ones, 1 point something.
Yeah, every other like critics reviews like 1 star. It's clunky, and I mean that's the clips that you're seeing are some of the clips that we pulled from it, and it's very much a one-sided look at Stan's story, and you know it seems like it's all put together to hopefully convince you that his story is legit. But speaking of the government, so we kind of alluded to this earlier, but a year later after this doc came out, there was an 8-month investigation launched by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and I think it was like a big operation they were doing.
Yeah, looking at lots of people.
Looking at, a ton of different people. But Stan was actually arrested in 2014 on charges of possessing and distributing child sex abuse material, which we'll go into more detail on what happened with that later on. But really, Stan's whole claim to fame is this idea, or in his eyes, his experience of being abducted by aliens, and more so than any other human in history. He has claimed that he has witnessed 195 different paranormal events, and that includes alien abductions, that includes just strange paranormal activity to shadow figures, literally any kind of paranormal activity, orbs, beings, men in black. I mean, you name it, Stan's experienced it.
Oh, yeah. He said pros of every shape and size.
Yeah.
Just really rimming him out. And just, he's done it all.
Which is, I mean, I'm kind of jealous.
Of the probes?
Give me some of those. No, like if you have 200 experiences, that would be sweet. That would be awesome. If you had that many legitimate experiences, like you could prove so much with that. But as we'll find out, he did a pretty poor job at proving it.
Well, and as we talked about earlier too, the more experiences you have, I think the credibility goes down for most people. Most people become more skeptical because you're like, really? Again?
Yeah.
And again? Oh, then this happened?
And you want harder proof.
Right.
If somebody had like one experience and they were just in shock, and of course they couldn't like think to like grab their cell phone and take a video, I would give them a pass. You know, they're just like worried about their survival, worried about are they going to die or not. But if this is your 150th rodeo, you know, the previous 149 times, they never hurt you, not badly, you know, you're fine. How can you not get solid evidence?
Right.
How can you not think when you're leaving the spaceship for the 150th time, maybe I'm going to grab a little trinket on my way out?
Yeah.
You know, something, anything. But nope. Yeah.
And we'll see that the evidence that he does have is just it's pretty weak. It's pretty hilarious too.
Not great.
The holiday season is officially here, and the last place I want to spend any time at is at the post office. But thanks to Stamps.com, I can avoid the post office altogether because I can mail and do all my shipping right from my personal computer at home. All you need is a printer, and Stamps.com will even send you a digital scale so you have everything you need to start mailing and shipping this holiday season. You can print postage 24/7, 7 days a week, which is great. You don't have to worry about the hours of the post office, no waiting in traffic, no waiting in lines. You can just do it at your own leisure. And it's just so much more simple. Plus, through the Stamps.com dashboard, you can schedule a pickup for UPS, USPS. They have shipping for both, so you can find what the cheapest shipping rate is very, very easily with the Stamps.com dashboard. Holiday expenses really add up this time of year, but Stamps.com offers crazy discounts on USPS and UPS. We're talking about 89% off normal rates. You can order shipping and mailing supplies, labels, and even printers from Stamps.com's supply store when you run low. More holiday, less hustle, free up more time with Stamps.com. Sign up at Stamps.com and enter code LIGHTSOUT for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a free digital scale. That's Stamps.com, code LIGHTSOUT.
But yeah, Stan is very much so that guy. He's like, I've been abducted a million times. I've seen so much thing, because he's kind of has that energy. He's like, I'm special.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of all this, Stan has expressed he's very spiritual, and he believes that he's what some people call a starseed. So if you don't know what that is, we're going to dig into it just a little bit here. But the concept of a starseed comes from a New Age belief that a person's soul or spirit originated on a foreign planet or another dimension in one way or another, and their soul was then sent to Earth to benefit humanity. So pretty important stuff here.
Possible?
Sure,
Maybe.
Possible.
Sure.
Yeah,
we don't know.
Possible.
Yeah. But
yeah.
I've covered a lot of starseed, people claiming to be starseeds, and there's like these commonalities. It just cracks me up that there's never like a noted professor is like, you know what? Oh, by the way, in addition to being a Rhodes Scholar and having written these like critically acclaimed books, I'm also a starseed.
Yeah.
It's always like someone whose life is in shambles.
Yup.
You know, like why is that?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it never like a titan of industry? Why isn't, Bill Gates, being like, oh, did I mention that I'm a starseed?
Could you imagine if
the credibility he would lend?
He's like, I've been abducted 200,000 times. That would be so crazy.
Or like LeBron James, somebody who's like, excels in their field.
Yeah.
Is like, oh, by the way, did I mention that I'm a starseed?
Yeah.
I got some things I want to share with humanity.
Yeah. And the aliens may be half bionic, and that's why I'm crushing in the NBA. Yeah.
No, it's always the guy who he can't hold down his graveyard shift position at 7-Eleven. He's just bouncing from job to job.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, the reason I'm struggling is because of my starseedery. It just makes me harder to relate.
Exactly.
Just can't understand.
Graveyard shift at a 7-Eleven.
Why I need to stock these shelves. I can't figure out how to get
They're teaching me humility.
Slushy machine.
Yeah. And look,
they'll probably be like, I had to start at the bottom to work my way up.
Yeah.
I can't just be put into a position of power. It's part of my journey, part of my spiritual enlightenment. Development.
Definitely.
Got to fight the Bloods. Got to fight the Crips. Got to play a little
tackle
flute.
one issue at a time.
Got to play some Cree flute.
I wonder if he ever went back to his neighborhood and played the flute.
Then he's really get shot.
He's like, this will bring
That's why he was getting shot at.
this will bring people
Stan,
together.
shut the fuck up.
There's just like 808s in the background. Cars, just like hydraulics, and you.
Stan, you're killing the vibe again, bro. That's why you keep getting beat. That's why we throw you in the closet because of all the flute work.
Oh man.
No, this starseed thing is interesting to me.
It's definitely like I'm special, pick me energy. And some also interpret starseeds as actual hybrid offsprings of alien beings procreating with Homo sapiens, so that like actually your mother or father.
That's all of us, baby.
But really,
you're double jointed alien.
Yeah, definitely. I got that from my dad. Yeah. The general idea is that deep down, a starseed knows they're different from those around them. They often grow up with a sense that they don't belong. They have a deep yearning to return to their homeworld or the dimension where they originated. Starseeds, they thrive on conversations about, deep conversations, human existence, spiritual connections. They don't care about, what the weather's like. They want that deep conversation, and they believe their intuition is actually connected to this higher power or a higher voice, so that they actually kind of have a direct line to something
special
out
information.
there. Yeah, exactly. Which is very, Messiah complex-ish, prophet complex.
Yeah, cult leaders always up. I got the inside track.
Exactly. They will eventually realize their primary goal and purpose is to serve humanity through many lifetimes. Their souls have gained. Yeah.
I mean, Tiger could crush us with his power.
He could.
But he's going to be a benevolent.
He's not going to. Yeah, exactly. He's on his journey. And through apparently many lifetimes, their souls have gained the wisdom to create advancements in the world around them. Their end goal is to move humanity into a golden age, which is
we're still waiting for it.
any day now. But it's profound awakening, heightened vibrations, and limitless possibilities. So, with all this in mind, we'll start digging into Stan's experiences with aliens and UFOs. And his first ever encounter took place on December 27th, 2000. And this moment would actually spark 12 years of 195 encounters with aliens, UFOs, strange humanoid children, shadow figures, orbs, and a potential surrogate mother and a fellow abductee, which will have its own story towards the end. But yeah, so.
But it all starts with realizing you're a starseed.
Right.
Yep.
And then that kind of opens up, that information highway for the extraterrestrials to be like, all right, they have realized who they are.
Yep.
They're now connected into the agenda here.
And if you believe that you're connected to a higher voice, a higher power, of course, it's like, oh, there's something in the sky. There's some weird things going on. It must be because I have some secret connection that others don't have. So they're only appearing to me kind of energy.
So he gets his encounter. It's Y2K. They've chosen him to talk to him now. So this December 27th, 2000, Stan is driving out through a popular scenic area near Red Rocks Amphitheater in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. He notices several cars pulling over to the side of the road. People have exited their vehicles. They're looking up at the sky. He joins them. Why wouldn't you? Grabs his camcorder that he just keeps in the car. And he just starts recording, just in case, you see something cool when you're driving around. And he sees what he described as a multi-spherical UFO hovering at a tilted angle low enough to nearly reach the power lines. And we have a clip of this amazing footage he captured.
Compelling.
Compelling. Like Independence Day shit.
And this put him on the map, this one specifically, because it's not as apparent as some of his later ones. This one's a bit more obscure. You can't really see what's going on.
He should have stayed at this level.
Yeah, right? It would be more convincing.
Totally.
Which I wanted to mention too, that I actually tend to think that he really sees something here.
Same.
Because recently, I think it was probably a couple months ago, there was people working at Red Rocks that saw some type of UFO or UAP is what they're called now. But, over in that vicinity. But what's also interesting too is Lockheed Martin's just like around
firing off
missiles, right around experimental stuff.
So it's possible that it's something from them. But let's take a look at this.
You're gonna have a frickin' canary. Okay. All right. I am on my way up to the mountains to take some videotape to show Lisa. And it is December 27th, I believe. And I believe this is Jewel, and oh my God, I'm shaking. Saw something kind of out of the corner of my eye, just skirting power lines. It was tilted and straightened out and shot straight up into the air. And okay, let me get a better view of where I am. Okay. Here's the power lines, and if you look, where is it? Where'd it go? Son of a bitch, I hope I didn't lose it. Okay. Pull over.
It's hard to tell because it's shaking a lot, but I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it is unidentified. I mean, it's up there in the air. Yeah. Did he say at the beginning, you're going to have a freaking canary?
Yes.
That is not this thing that someone who's fought Bloods and Crips says. Like, those two people can't be the same person. The person who battled his way through Bloods and Crips high school and then is like, you're going to have a freaking canary.
Yeah. That's so true.
That's the guy who plays the flute, possibly.
Yeah.
But not, it doesn't line up.
That's funny.
Nothing about his voice screams Street Fighter.
Can you imagine him?
Can you imagine getting beat up? Like, you're a really tough guy, you're in a gang, and then this guy beats you. You're going to have a freaking canary by the time I'm done with you. And then you're like, I'm going to kill this guy. And then you're on the ground, like, how did that guy?
He's like, gee, Willikers, I just got my ass beat.
Right. Yeah. That's the guy who actually tries to do Ralph Macchio's like swan kick in a real fight.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Man.
Okay, so the object shot into the air, disappeared. At first, Stan thought he had witnessed some unknown military aircraft, but he wasn't sure. His later experiences will all but confirm it was a UFO. About a year after this, on the evening of September 22nd, 2001, Stan was closing a retail store that he managed. Maybe they sold flutes, maybe they didn't, we don't know. One of the customers who had previously been in the store showed up again. He returned to warn Stan of a massive blinking object in the sky above the store. The object then disappeared, but as Stan got into his car to return to his apartment, the object reappeared and followed him home, so they're on to him now. He noticed it in the sky above his apartment building. When he got home, he ran up to his apartment where his friend and sister were waiting for him. They had plans to go out to eat, but Stan grabbed his video camera instead, headed back outside. Couldn't capture much, but he did salvage a still image from his short video showing the object in the sky, and it looked like a glowing red orb before disappearing. And, I mean, who knows what this picture is, but again, it's grainy, it's a red orb. These things do read more credible to me than when it's, when they tried, not that everybody's trying to like, falsify this stuff, but this is more credible to me than if it was like a classic 1950s little like UFO, with like the disc and the little metal ball inside of the disc and kind of grainy where it looks like it's clearly been photoshopped.
Yeah. And the anti-gravity like suction thing.
Yes. This at least looks like a real picture.
Yeah, definitely.
Or it's just a light up Frisbee he threw up in the air.
I know, when it's grainy like this, it could be so many things.
Because it's clearly like moving, or he's got the zoomed in,
Yeah, I forgot about those light up Frisbees. That was like a thing for a while.
Yeah. Just like a little blinking red Frisbee they took a picture of. But maybe it's a red orb. That's
Yeah, we don't know.
Now he's got UFOs following him around. So, he's the paranoia is starting to set in a little bit.
And it quickly escalates too. This goes from I saw something in the sky to he's about to have a
freaking canary.
And this could read, I feel like, one of two ways. If you want to go like the legit path, okay, you see something, they see you, and they're curious about you, and now they want to get more information and study you. And so it could escalate in a legitimate way. But also, the other way, you get a little bit of attention from your first experience, and you tell people, and you get this social cash in, like, what? Oh my God. And you like the way that feels.
Right.
Dopamine hit.
That dopamine hit, and then you do it again, and you like the way that feels. And then to keep people interested, you have to escalate it.
It's a great point.
Regardless of the UFO, they all go out to eat as planned. When they returned to Stan's apartment, he had a horrible headache. He decided to call it a night, go to bed early. He was eventually able to fall asleep, but around 2 a.m., he wakes up to a knocking at his front door. And then here is Stan describing this incident.
2 o'clock in the morning, maybe 2:30. And they must have been knocking for a while because I'm a heavy sleeper, but they knocked long enough that it woke me up. And first thing I thought is maybe my friend ran out of gas and he had to walk back. Maybe it was the neighbor, they were drunk. I wasn't sure. Got up to answer the door. And I noticed as I, start walking down the hall, my sister had already answered the door. And I looked past my sister, and there were 3 people standing outside. The first thing that popped into my head is, oh my God, they're here to rob us. They're going to rob us. And I'm yelling at my sister, don't let them in because they're going to rob us. And as I get closer, I realize that eyes are kind of just slightly open, mouth just wide open, and she's staring at the ceiling like she's still asleep or something. And I'm yelling at her, and she's not moving. And then when I get really close, I realize there's a female and 2 males. And I got to tell you, I was really scared. I was really scared because I had just come to the realization that UFOs were probably real. But I didn't really think about the fact that something had to be driving these UFOs and that they might not be human. And then now I'm being confronted with this reality that there's something at my door that isn't human. And let me tell you, it was really quite disturbing to me. And right as I got to that realization, the female stepped forward. And for whatever reason, I could hear myself screaming in my head, but I couldn't. It wasn't coming out. And she grabbed my wrist. A thought popped into my head. You're okay. It's going to be okay. And the thought was not my thought. I didn't put that thought in there. It just appeared. And let me tell you, it must have freaked me out enough that I somehow snapped out of whatever trance they had me in. And there was a male on either side of me. And by the time we got outside to the balcony, I grabbed one of the males and I was going to literally throw him off the balcony. And I felt the light tap,
Tough
like
guy.
somebody was tapping the back of my head, and I woke up somewhere else.
Yeah. There we go.
And
Okay.
You just woke up the tiger. Are you ready for the hurt coming your way?
But he was terrified at first, and then he switches to, I was about to throw that motherfucker off the deck.
right.
What happened?
Can we
So many problems.
Can we talk about? Okay, these are, why are they like so humanoid to the fact that he's like he could identify the female because she has breasts? Isn't that odd? Why are these alien creatures? But it's like this one has
got some
boobs,
sweet boobies.
Yeah, like what?
And there's so many problems with this where he says like the thought wasn't my own. I feel like he just doesn't know how life works. Like intrusive thoughts are a common phenomenon.
Yeah.
It's like he just doesn't know. Like you don't will every thought into existence. Sometimes your thoughts float into. That's not a different person. and then the biggest problem with all of this is just the knocking at the door. And I love how he's like, they're going to rob us. What robber in the history of robbery has ever walked into an apartment 2:00 in the morning, pounded on the door, waking everybody up, and then when the person answers, okay, it's time for you to be robbed.
Yeah.
No, you pick the lock. You sneak in through a window.
Yeah.
And then also these advanced entities, they can travel across the galaxy. They can find his unit, but they can't get in the fucking door.
Yeah, the knock. Yeah.
They have to wake him up.
They have a mechanical lock on the door. We can't get in.
It's metal. It is metal.
Yeah.
All to then telepathically communicate with him. Right? No words are exchanged.
Yeah.
No sound. Just, I'm going to implant this thought in your head. And then that's it.
And then that's it.
You couldn't do
There's
that without ever even stepping foot.
There's also a contradiction in his narrative because this female goes, everything's going to be okay. And then all of a sudden he's out on the balcony and he's like, I'm going to throw this guy out. Well, I thought everything was going to be okay.
Yeah.
Like what? So there's some conflicting narrative here.
It's like someone describing a dream.
Yeah.
It's like, and so my mom walks in, I'm at Target and I'm naked. And my mom is like, you got to do your homework. And I'm like, no, I'm 40.
Yeah.
And then Gary, who I used to hang out with in high school, he gets his helicopter and he comes and now we're in a grape field. It's like, what?
Yeah,
what are you talking about? This is all over the place.
Yeah, it is. It is. It could have.
By the way,
been a dream.
I don't know why I just said grape field. That was a weird improv moment.
Yeah.
A vineyard.
A vineyard. Yeah.
Grape fields.
I wasn't even going to.
When you're out in the grape
fields.
fields.
Yeah.
So the next day, he thinks that everything might have just been a dream. But then his friends and family members, they notice strange marks across his body. He has small indentations on his lower back. He had light sores around his wrists, almost like he had been handcuffed. Because that's what aliens use, handcuffs.
Yeah, right.
They have standard issue, like police handcuffs.
How do we know this just wasn't the cops that were at his door? Like, what? Like, what? Wait, and then his sister? Like, what's up with his sister?
I know. I
then?
was thinking, like, why is his sister in his apartment also?
Yeah, like, that's
Why are they living
strange.
together?
And what?
Also, a big thing is, where is the sister in all this? Like, has she ever done an interview or anything?
No, I've never
Nothing?
seen anything with his sister.
Yeah, how come she
That's
hasn't verified
suspicious,
this?
Right. If she's in these stories.
Well, according to him, she was in a trance or asleep.
Oh, that's
still.
right, because she was like looking up in a trance.
He would explain it'd be like she wouldn't remember anything because she was in a trance.
Why didn't they share any
Sleepwalking.
important information with him? If they put his sister in a trance, they come down, they wake him up, they go into his apartment. Why? He's a starseed. Give him the information that he's supposed to share with us.
Why do you invite them in?
Right.
Why is he now talking about like throwing him off the deck
Right.
Because clearly, based on his wounds, they get into some type of physical altercation that he doesn't want to talk about.
Yeah. Or he's being like medically, surgically.
They're there to verify the Starseed.
Right. Yeah. We need his DNA. Yeah.
And they said that when they put the wounds under a black light, they glowed, and then they healed and scarred within like under 2 days. And you look at this picture of the wounds, it's like it's the tiniest little thing with his like thumb there for like, size comparison. It's just like a tiny little burn or scratch or something. Looks like almost like pus under there. I don't know. It doesn't. And then he has this wound on his bicep that's a little bigger. Very, very strange. And again, if you're an alien and you have this advanced technology and you want to, like, I don't know, put a tracker in somebody or run some tests.
You can do that with no wound.
No wound.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they're getting better with like cosmetic surgeries and things right now. Like very non-invasive. Yeah, like my father-in-law had heart surgery and he didn't have as big of a like circular wound as this guy has on his bicep. That doesn't make any sense.
That's a great point. These beings can traverse, galaxies, but they can't. They're going to leave like incision wounds like this or whatever was going on.
It would be so much more credible to me if there was no wound, but then later he like feels something like a little nodule or something.
Metal or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's some metal and perhaps metal not even from like our elements. Or at least like a rare metal, something.
Who was that? It was, do you remember Dr. Lear was all into that, and he was trying to prove that all these
Roger Lear, the alien implant doctor. Yeah, that's a whole other fucking basket case.
Yeah.
But yeah, tons of people claim to have been implanted with different pieces of metal and stuff. And there's been a couple cases where there's been some really odd things, but no way to verify they were implanted,
right?
Or if somebody just happened to, stick themselves with something.
Yeah.
Right.
This first image though of these circular wounds kind of remind me of just like cigarette butt burns, just take a cigarette to your
like if he lightly burned himself.
Yeah, like he just like poked himself with
like a match even.
Or a fat joint.
Like
a blunt. He just is like
Stan doesn't have fat blunt energy. No. Maybe a cigarette that he borrowed from somebody.
Yeah. Personally, I'm very temperamental when it comes to my sleep climate. I'm a little baby about it. So I highly recommend that you, like I did, check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. They're inspired by NASA. They use silver-infused fabrics that are temperature regulating so you can sleep at the perfect temp all night long. Because, traditional bed sheets, they're gross. They harbor a bunch of bacteria, more than a toilet seat sometimes. It can lead to acne, allergies, stuffy noses. It's just basically downright disgusting. Miracle Made offers a whole line of self-cleaning, you heard that right, antibacterial bedding, such as sheets, pillowcases, and comforters that prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth and require up to 3 times less laundry, which is great for me because I constantly am shitting my pants and I have to do a ton of laundry all the time. And above all that, they're comfortable, which I think might be the most important thing about sheets. You gotta have some comfy sheets, and you don't have to break the bank for these either. So go to trymiracle.com/lightsout to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo code LIGHTSOUT at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle Made is so confident in their products, backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. So upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/lightsout and use the code LIGHTSOUT to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/lightsout to treat yourself.
So once he put it together, like the wounds and the memories of the night before, he thinks, okay, I was probably abducted. But he couldn't remember what happened if he was abducted. And that is a common affliction, among alien abductees called missing time phenomena, which I'm fascinated by.
Yeah.
When people are like, all of a sudden we just don't know what happened for 3 hours or whatever. Pretty standard lore that he would be familiar with if he's looked into any of this stuff at all?
Yeah, we've covered some, and they always go to hypnotherapy to try to draw out those repressed memories of a missing time.
Yeah, like what happened.
A few cases.
There's tons and tons of missing time phenomenon cases, and there's some. I know we've talked about a few that were pretty interesting where there's not all this extra, you know, fluff on it.
Yeah.
People legitimately just like can't
Don't
remember,
know.
Right?
Yeah.
Multiple hours of time, or they were in one location and they ended up in another location. They have no idea how they got there, and there's obviously theories about that. Or
remember Highway 666 or Highway 66? Yeah, there were those people. They would be on the highway, and all of a sudden, they're miles ahead of where they were supposed to be.
Weird.
And they'd be like, I don't remember even driving the last 40 miles or something. So yeah, those are crazy.
I remember stories of like people like going on like hikes that they had been on before, and let's say the hike is like a 30-minute loop, and then they come back, something weird happened in the middle, and it's like 5 hours later. You know, that stuff is super weird, where I'm like, what? So here's Stan talking about the experience of the missing time and possibly being abducted.
Day before yesterday, when I had the sighting over over my work, actually, when my boss first saw it. That night, something must have happened because I woke up in the morning and I had some indentations in my back, and I didn't notice this actually. My sister noticed it, but I noticed that I had sores around my wrists, like I was been roped or had been handcuffed or something. Okay. And it's healed amazingly fast.
Okay, I like the background noise, the vibe of like people are laughing, like basically it sounds like he's at like a party, a get together, and then weird Stan like walks off to like do a little, you know,
hey, can you grab my camera? We can do this right now. Yeah.
And if he had just been abducted and wounded, and his family knows that, I would think the atmosphere around him doing his testimonial into the camera would be very somber. But instead, they're just like laughing, like they don't care at all about this, which doesn't read well to me.
No, it almost reads like, Stan's doing his thing over there.
Yeah. Don't worry. No, should I be quiet? Nah, just Stan. Just Stan talking his nonsense again. Yeah. They don't even bother to try and be quiet.
Yep. And I don't know, the wounds, it's funny because it's like, look, they healed so fast. I'm like, I've had small wounds heal within a few days too. I don't think that's anything that crazy.
I wound myself every day. On something. Yeah. I actually burned myself with hot oil this morning. It'll probably be gone by tomorrow.
Yeah, there you go.
It'll be a little scar there or something.
Yeah. Did you wound yourself, or were you
maybe I was visited by 3 good-looking aliens this morning. I had no idea.
Did a little oil party with you?
Yeah. And then also the fact that he's fucking doing this, like trying to show us actual evidence with no lighting whatsoever. He's got the paranormal green light on.
Right.
To try to like add like, oh, this was alien. You can't see shit, but just trust me, it was aliens.
He just finished watching X-Files.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's like he's trying to, it's almost like, why are you just call it a movie? Just be like, this is a fictional movie. I mean, why are you trying to be like, this is a documentary on my real life experiences at this point?
So. This is very close to the time the Blair Witch Project was released.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I think it came out in 2000. I want to say it came out in the summer of 2000.
That would line up.
And they had like his vibe,
and
with the camera would very much match up with he had just seen that in the movie. And that was a huge, like crazy popular movie just for that, like the summer and that fall, I believe. I'm 99% sure. 99. Okay. So a year later. Okay. Or 2 years later.
I
This
like
is 2001.
that theory though, because what if he was just trying to make an alien found footage movie at first, and then he just started leaning into the fact that it was real,
Right.
And then he's like, how do I use any of this footage? And years down the line, they were like, hey, I could maybe piece this together in a documentary. I kind of like that idea that he was just inspired by that.
By himself? Nobody would do this with him.
Really low budget.
I could believe that if there was anybody else that was joining him on this adventure. But it's like clearly about him.
Yeah.
He's like, it's got us this whole story revolves around me. I'm the special one.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Or his weird Uncle Stan or whatever whoever he got to film that.
Yeah.
He's like pestering someone at the family get together.
Right.
Come film this for me.
Again. Yeah. All right, Stan. All right, Tiger.
Yeah.
In a later experience, he also claimed that he once dug out an implant with a pocket knife in front of a physician. His wife, Lisa, then hid the implant in the back of a radio. Interesting hiding spot. They alleged it was later destroyed by a government beam of vibration and broke into 3 pieces.
It's like 3 lives right there.
Yeah, really dense lies there.
And
where's this doctor
would allow you to cut yourself in
their presence?
Yeah.
They would be like, no, stop, get out of our office. Yeah. Like, not here.
We're going to dial 911.
Yeah.
We're going to get security.
You have to like a 72-hour psychiatric hold on somebody who like takes a pocket knife to dig out an implant at the doctor's office.
He's like, yeah, it's in here somewhere.
Nope.
He's just digging around. And
that's like
bleeding.
That's out of a movie again.
Yeah.
Right. That's the stuff that happens in movies, but not in real life.
Yep.
Hiding it in the back of a radio. Why? Why would you put it in the back of a radio?
How about take it to a scientist?
Right.
Find somebody with a lab who can test it and actually verify.
Yeah.
And of course, before it could get tested, it breaks into 3 pieces.
Because of the government beam of vibration.
Yeah.
That always kills me when they go into secret government weapons like this, like these futuristic weapons. That stuff, that lore, I do not believe. I believe that there are weapons slightly more advanced than what we have out there. But when you jump it way up to like vibration beams and like these sonic waves that could kill somebody, a mile away and they wouldn't even know what happened.
Like completely remote operation.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because
Tom and I were actually talking about this. Remember the Nazi sonic cannon? They were trying to build weapons like sonic weapons that made people feel uneasy and weird. And like they were pooping themselves in the trenches. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
Shooting the brown note at them. I don't know. But those did like exist. But it's just, they realize that they're not efficient at all. Like,
and it can't destroy something.
Right. Yeah.
It
just makes you feel weird.
And pinpoint. You know, like even if you could come up with some kind of weird vibrational beam that just decimated things, to then have it be able to get something in the back of a radio but not like melt the whole radio,
right,
makes no sense. No. And if those kind of weapons existed, Ukraine would be decimated.
Right.
Russia would have just wiped them off the map by now.
Yeah.
Israel would have wiped Iran off the map. It's like, just logically, I'm like, no, there's no vibration beam.
You just go vibrate a nuclear power plant.
Yeah.
Cause a meltdown.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Just wreak havoc.
Yeah.
And they were really interested in this tiny little
implant in the back of his wife's radio.
We got to stop this guy. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, well,
Stan tells his coworkers at the Gap it's all over. like, get out of here.
Yeah, where's he working at this point?
Vague retail store.
Retail store. Also,
Best Buy.
Here's my theory. He rides his bike every day to work. I think Stan, he's
living with his sister.
Complete speculation. Mm-hmm. I think he's a raging alcoholic.
Oh,
that's complete speculation on my end. That is just a theory that I run with. I think.
Okay. Problem. Yeah, I can see that.
All right. Well, the experiences continue for Stan, one after the next. It's just, and that's the other thing. It just keeps on happening. These crazy, crazy things. On September 30th, 2001, Stan had just gotten off work at the retail store and was stuck in rush hour traffic. And as he headed home, he noticed a beam of a spotlight lighting up the ground next to his vehicle. Mm-hmm. The beam of light then swept over his car, and he said it was so bright, seemed like a spotlight from a police helicopter. What is he doing that, he's being chased?
Mm-hmm.
But as he looked around, he noticed the confused faces of the other drivers around him. They were all looking up at the sky. And when he looked up for himself, he spotted another UFO. And he said this thing flew over toward what Stan called the Old Stone House Park. And what he might have been referring to is the restored 1860s stone house at the Bear Creek Greenbelt in Lakewood. And he then filmed a group of people at the park witnessing something in the sky. And according to Stan, this video footage was sent to Entertainment Tonight, which is odd. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then they said, wow, this is really compelling stuff. Let's send it over to NASA.
Yeah.
That's an interesting flow.
Yes, it is.
Stan, Entertainment Tonight, NASA.
Yeah. It's the trifecta.
According to Stan, NASA took a look at it and like, we have no fucking clue what this is. This is more like it never made it anywhere or to NASA, let alone. But he was later contacted by a woman who claimed that her grandfather had taken a picture of the UFO or the beaming that this object made, which was also possibly Stanley's car. So take a look at this thing here. Pretty interesting picture. Again, very grainy.
Yeah, and if you watch the video of this, it looks like it's like kind of blinking, like the light is blinking
kind of pulsing
down
a bit. Yeah. Again, somebody could create this probably with something. It is odd though.
Mm-hmm. It is really weird. The only thing I could maybe think of is that, you know how hot air balloons, you do the fire a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So maybe someone was like pulsing the fire, but I don't know hot air balloons that go up at night either.
Yeah.
So,
or like lit up like this,
right?
All the way.
Yeah, it's a weird. It's like, it is a weird image. It reminds you of like looking through like a keyhole or something. It's just like that, just an odd shape.
Yeah,
who knows?
But by July of 2002, Stan complained of the intense stress he was experiencing due to all the alien encounters. It was really starting to get.
He's about to get fired from the Gap. He can barely play the flute. He's getting more drunk than ever. Yeah. I picture him drinking. By the way, like he's an alcoholic, but he only gets drunk off like Zima. Like flavored malt beverages and like Seagram's wine coolers and stuff.
Oh my!
He just has like a 20 black cherry Seagram's wine coolers, and he's just pounding one after another, getting sugar headaches. And
no Smirnoff, get that out of my house.
People are like, don't give him Smirnoff.
Yeah, he gets too wild.
That unleashes the tiger. Yeah, tiger goes crazy to get Smirnoff.
And maybe the back pain's just from stocking all those shelves at the retail store.
Right?
There you go.
Right. For all we know. Well, according to some ufologists out there, they reached out to Stan. They're like, all right, man, you should probably do some counseling sessions to deal with all this stress and really try to figure out what's going on with you. And of course, the recommendation was to try out hypnotherapy.
Yeah.
As many alien abductees do. Seems to be a pretty practical method for helping abductees kind of recall their experiences and stuff.
Yeah.
And I will say with the hypnotherapy, not that this is all the time, but they have proven like false memory syndrome connection to that. And so if you have somebody who is prone to wanting lots of attention, to hyperbole, to kind of, making up these stories, Stan, and then you do put them under hypnotherapy, it can greatly accelerate the kind of, wild tales they're telling, because now they really believe them. Now they're, just somebody asking leading questions, getting their imagination going. They interpret that as actual memories, and they can really go off the rails.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially if you go and see a hypnotherapist who specifically works with these types of people, you know what I mean?
Right.
Which I think this guy's name was Dr. Leo Sprinkle.
I love that name.
Because Stan
Tiger and Sprinkle.
He's
at it again.
Yeah, me and Dr. Sprinkle are real good
Tiger and
friends.
Sprinkle.
Sounds like a cartoon show.
It does.
Yeah. I was like, of course this guy's name is Dr. Sprinkle. Right? Come on.
The esteemed Dr. Sprinkle.
Yeah. Which I don't think I ever found anything out on who Dr. Sprinkle is, but here's Stan talking about hypnotherapy.
Mm-hmm.
I just love his like talk about shift in mannerism. Like I kept laughing because I couldn't stop thinking about him saying stuff like, and like normally I have like this really strong alpha energy and just like a really like a fighter, like a tiger energy. Yeah. But I would just get, these mannerisms and like my chin would get weaker and I would just be like this really like effeminate, like, I mean, it's hard to imagine on me.
He's trying to project really hard. Yeah.
Well, and then what he's implying here is that he is dealing with a possession case now. Now he's like
almost sounds
being
like
possessed by some type of entity, whether it's alien. I don't even know if he knows or knows what to call it.
Right.
And I don't know if he's going back to the whole Starseed concept. It's like his inner alien that's coming out and talking, which I assume is what he's talking about here. But he's basically like, through hypnotherapy, this inner alien starts talking and I shut the fuck up for a minute.
Right. Yeah.
It says all this wild stuff that there's no way I would ever know, would be able to read about, would be able to possibly understand. And just for reference, that interview took place at a convention in Arizona called Contact in the Desert. And it's known for attracting these types of people there. A lot of there's some like more credible ufologists and people there that share their stories and stuff, but then it attracts people like Stan there.
Yeah.
And you can tell that the interviewer, who is there to hear all these crazy stories,
already open-minded,
right?
Yeah.
Is like,
okay.
And he can't provide any specifics. It's like, it's just too hard to talk about, She's like, you can't give us anything like.
And I love this thing of like, I don't really believe in this stuff. It's not really my thing. Then why are you at this convention?
Right.
Like, why did you go there?
Yeah.
No,
it doesn't make any sense.
No, that's nonsense.
Yeah.
You want the attention. You do believe, like, yeah. I love that. Like, you know what? I don't even know if I should be here.
Yeah,
this really isn't my thing. As you're like a panel speaker at this huge convention that had to invite you and you've been planning it for months and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he's grifting. That's what he's doing. Also, we will get, a little bit later, we will actually get to see him in one of those trances. We're going to dive into what he's uncovered.
Yes. So obviously alien abductees who undergo hypnotherapy, that's usually when the bulk of their experiences and the details surrounding their abduction really come to light. I can think of like a handful of abduction stories off the top of my head where this is the way that Betty and Barney Hill, Travis Walton, a ton of them out there.
Chris Bledsoe that we covered. The one Unsolved Mysteries. What was her name?
Linda.
Yeah,
Linda
that one.
Napolitano or something.
Yeah, I think it was that.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost every single, and again, like I think you and Dan were talking about this false memory thing, and we've talked about this too. There was somebody who actually researched this whole concept of like, how effective is hypnotherapy? And there's a lot of people who it's kind of pseudo, right? Like it's controversial.
Most accredited
academic
scholars have kind of debunked the hypnotherapy.
Yeah, it's more popular like back in like the 80s. I mean, the whole satanic panic started actually out of hypnotherapy sessions and stuff. And I think like looking back on that, that's when people started to turn against it and be like, ooh, can be really problematic.
How reliable is this? But during Stan's first session of hypnotic regression therapy, he said he brought up a lot of pain that he had gone through, and he had to relive it during this session. He said, quote, "I vividly remember everything, every nuance, every sound, every painful experience." He described the experience as a centrifuge ride at a carnival. He could feel severe pain in his back like an incision was being made. Then he recalled an alien woman standing over him, and a, quote, explosion of thought entered his head. It was so intense, it knocked him over. He then experienced a long series of images and thoughts filling his head at a rapid pace.
Man, she made him brain. She made him brain come.
Yeah,
good God, an explosion.
I just want to point out I vividly remember everything. Okay, now I know for a fact you're a liar. It's like I vividly remember every detail in excruciating
whole life
detail.
In review.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
just like scrolls through.
Come on,
the Crips, the Bloods, 7-Eleven,
all the way up to Gap.
All the fights with the Bloods, the Crips. The stab wounds to the forearm.
All the near-death experiences he had.
All of it. Every 195.
Being in the studio, working that flute album. Fighting with the producers of like, no, I have to be authentic to my Cree heritage. and they wanted it to be more commercial.
Atlantic Records tried to pick me up. Yeah.
I'll never forget. I was talking to Quincy Jones.
Well, he also suddenly remembered all of these complex symbols. And so the hypnotherapist was like, come on, Stan, write these down for us. And within seconds, Stan was able to write a full page of complex mathematic equations that were apparently way beyond his intelligence and capabilities. And on his website, he made sure to emphasize just how impressive it was. He was on his website. Quote, Stan Romanek suffers from dyslexia and has been affected by this learning disability all of his life. And because of this, Stan's math competency is at a 4th grade level.
just outing himself here.
And he has no idea what any of these equations or drawings mean. So hoping that the equations might in some way benefit in an effort to find their meaning, Stan requests that all the equations be openly shared. Very nice of him to do that.
Very benevolent.
Don't they have, I don't know a lot about like dyslexia treatment, but they have medication.
Yes.
Right. That treats it pretty effectively.
Yeah, there is medication that you can take. Not everybody takes it, but definitely if it's really, really bad. It's debilitating to the point where you're really struggling in school.
If his stuff is so debilitating that his mathematics are still, as an adult, when he's out there in the workforce at a 4th grade level, like, why wouldn't you take medication? Like, he would have trouble working as like a cashier, you know, like our joke of like the Gap.
True. Yeah.
7-Eleven. He wouldn't be able to like work there.
Yeah. How could he know how to plug in my cardigan? The price of it, especially at, I don't know. Wait, we were still kind of using not analog, but they were digital at that point. But you still had to like plug in the amount. Were we or no? We were scanning barcodes by 2000. By
2000, I think you'd have to, well, but just if there's any problem.
Right.
Like with your till at the end of the day. But just, I mean, you would need some of that. That's just a weird, I just don't believe him.
Can you count cash at a 4th grade level?
I would hope so.
I think you learned cash
so.
like
addition, subtraction. He would probably know that.
He's like getting 20s and 1s mixed up.
Here's your refund of $300 for this pair of jeans. Yeah.
So in one of his diagrams, he drew an electron structure for an element that didn't exist. Apparently, he drew a helium atom bombarding the structure of a synthetic chemical element with the atomic number 115, which was later named as moscovium. This element wouldn't be synthesized until 2003 by a team of Russian-American scientists at the Joint Institute for Nuclear Research. And this was the same chemical element. And we haven't actually covered Bob Lazar's story on our show yet, which we definitely need to, because that's another very interesting one.
Yeah.
But Bob Lazar was one that claimed that this element 115 was used on an antimatter reactor for the propulsion system for the alleged craft that they had in their possession at Area 51.
Yep.
And he allegedly worked on that was like anti-gravity.
Bob made that claim, I believe, before this claim.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so he could have easily been familiar with that.
Oh, yeah. Bob was like back in the 60s.
Yeah,
70s.
Yeah.
When he came forward.
And a big name in UFO lore.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, it wouldn't have been hard to find out that Bob had done similar stuff.
He was certainly inspired by the work.
Yeah. So, and he had called it unpentium. Basically, he claimed that this powered the anti-gravity system, but Bob Lazar never specified which isotope of element 115 powered this alien propulsion system. So many believe that Stan Romanek's depiction of element 115 was obviously heavily inspired by Bob Lazar's. I mean, there's no other way.
Yeah.
And to try to like pass this off of like, oh, this inner alien being like told me this, this was like pretty well known out there. If you did any digging in UFO circles, you would have run across the Bob Lazar story. You would have heard about element 115.
Yeah, and the fact that like we later synthesized this and it's like this has nothing to do with propulsion. It was all just kind of baloney at the end of it.
Right, and that would point to like just, a lot of this being a fabrication or like why would these aliens, if he's this Starseed and they're giving him this advanced mathematical information, why would they give him nonsense?
Why be so cryptic about it?
Yeah, right. And that's another thing with a lot of these, claims. Yeah, why make the message confusing?
Right.
We were actually joking at breakfast this morning that Dr. Todd Grande guy, like he analyzed him and came up with his own conclusions. And that was actually one of the things he said about Stan was these aliens are visiting him over and over, and he's this starseed. He's, supposed to raise humanity's frequency. Then just give him the message.
Yeah, straightforward.
Why is it so cryptic? Why do you need all these symbols and equations? Like, why are they just confusing you?
And why give it to the starseed that has a 4th grade math comprehension? Right. Like, God.
Yeah.
They're like, math for this guy. He needs to learn.
They're looking at like Stephen Hawking. They're like, nah, this guy.
The Gap
guy who rides to work on his bicycle after pounding 6 Seagram's fucking black cherry wine coolers. He's the guy to bring us all to the next, age of Aquarius or whatever.
He was making peace with the Crips and the Bloods.
Yeah. Right.
He is the true Messiah here.
True.
So also in his hypnotherapy notes, he wrote down the Drake equation, which again has been out there a long, long time. Frank Drake created it in 1961, or it's really like a theory. It's this proposed idea that this equation estimates the number of civilizations out there that could make contact with us, intelligent civilizations in the Milky Way galaxy. But Stan's version did have one revision. It multiplied the probability by 100.
They're out there.
He's like times 100. He's like, definitely possible.
Yep. Using his, great mathematical abilities to kind of level this thing up.
Yeah. I don't know what this means.
Nice
but
even
multiply
number.
it by 100.
That's what we're going on. Right. That does sound like something, again, kind of like out of a movie or something. We're like, man, this is incredible. Yeah? You think it's incredible now? Multiply by 100.
Yeah.
Now, exactly.
Aliens everywhere. Every planet has aliens. During another regression therapy session in 2005, he wrote down some more complex equations on a page. On a second page, he jotted down some more odd writings, later determined to be Syriac and Aramaic. But it seemed to be gibberish.
Shocker.
What?
So again, loosely inspired by something he saw or read.
Right.
But over the years, he'd write many more equations, diagrams, and writings during his hypnotherapy sessions, which is just like, you gotta think he like goes into those prepared. Like he's doing
he's memorized.
He's memorizing some. So he's like, I'm going into these hypnotherapy. Recall this
Drake equation. Yeah.
I mean, if he really has dyslexia, the comprehension skills, not too shabby though. I mean, to memorize a Drake equation and like all these symbols and stuff. So
for sure.
Mm-hmm. I mean, unless that's all he's doing in his free time.
If you want to be like a big stinker about it, you could say that he only is proposing that he's severely dyslexic, so it seems more impressive when he can do this. If he's like if he's really a liar, that might be his angle.
Interesting. Yeah.
And he might be dyslexic. He might be that thing where he does have it. He just, over dramatized it, where like talking about the childhood torment and stuff.
Right.
There might be a seed of truth in, some of these things.
True.
Like he might have beat up like one blood and one crip, but maybe not like, all of them or.
Well, he also claims that a lot of these were drawn and written while he was fully asleep, and he gave them the name dream equations.
Mm-hmm.
So this next clip,
I love this.
This is probably one of the most iconic clips that we'll show you today. But this is an example of Stan channeling this entity during a hypnotherapy session. And I'm sorry ahead of time. This is again on a clip from an old episode that's been wiped clean from the internet, so we had to pull it. You'll hear some of my commentary from 5 years ago, but it's so good. I believe this channeling session actually takes place in Mexico. So he actually kind of went on a tour to channel this entity with Dr. Sprinkle. And so this is from somewhere in Mexico channeling the entity.
He looks like such a couch potato here.
All those secrets.
Catching up with him.
He's drunk right now.
All right, listen to this.
To explain,
you got to see it.
Humans do not understand time. Time is a fabric, like a sheet. You can be in a particular location on the sheet. Once you learn how to lift off the sheet, you can move to another location on the sheet.
Wow.
Humans believe in humans communicate linearly. Humans believe in linear time travel. Linear, Starseed's words, linear. It is not a straight line. It is touching together,
I've literally heard so many other people say this.
Raising off the sheet and to a different spot. As simple as that.
Interesting story, but I've heard it before.
Electromagnetic component to gravity. And once humans understand this, it will be easier for them to manipulate. There are already government, not good, that have
he's pulling a little Trumpism
this
there.
Technology and use it for their own gain.
That's the best information they're going to give you is not good.
Yeah, cycle must stop for the human race to evolve naturally.
How many times did he watch Rain Man to prepare for that?
Honestly.
Like, I feel like he studied Dustin Hoffman. And also, little known fact, Matthew McConaughey studied that performance for the first season of True Detective.
I can see
Time is a flat
circle. Yeah.
I don't think he did study that.
It just would do it.
Yeah. It did remind me of that.
And much like Matthew McConaughey, he's like crushing cigarettes and beer cans during the whole thing.
Oh my God, I would love it if he recreated that and he's crushing the cigarettes. But then instead of the beer cans, it literally is like old Zimas and stuff. Yeah. And he's just...
oh my God.
Throwing those back.
For the rest of this episode, I'm also going to talk like him through the... I'm going to do the... through everything that I say.
It's really difficult for humanity to understand the information that I'm throwing at them. It's just so high concept. Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Time is linear. Linear.
I know time is linear. Linear liner.
Whoopsie. I can't believe people actually like came to watch this. They like,
there was like
we're
blown away. I'm sure too.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I love the chair they give him. They give him like a lazy
sinks
boy.
into.
Sunked in there. Yeah.
Made him look like a little kid. It like definitely took away from his respectability.
Totally. Again, the guy who fought the Crips and the Bloods.
Yeah.
I would love it if the chair was a little bigger and his feet didn't quite touch the floor, and he's just kind of kicking his feet back and forth to really look like a little kid.
So these alien interactions continued. On October 7th, 2003, Stan woke up outside his home with no memory of how he had gotten there. He had a bloody nose, and when he went to relieve himself, he noticed there was blood in his urine. That's cause for concern.
Aliens are kidney punching.
Yeah. He then checked the surveillance camera he had installed a few weeks earlier and spotted a large beam of light just right beside his home. It then caused the camera to malfunction at around 2 a.m. And here is that footage. Whoa.
That first light, it literally looked like someone just took a flashlight,
from
the roof.
So that's what I thought.
Well, then he claims this is what it looked like on a side.
Yeah. So there's the camera, and then
It was nice that the aliens kind of cleaned up some of the siding.
Yeah. Right. So the next day, Stan went out to collect a piece of siding as evidence. But two strange men apparently had arrived and removed the old siding of his house before just suddenly replacing it. And so this old siding looked like it had warped and had some sort of smoke damage along it. And when Stan called his landlord said, like, I didn't hire anyone to go over there. I don't know why they're over there replacing the siding. Apparently the company that changed the siding, which was called Bob's Siding from Grand Island, Nebraska, did not exist. I don't know what's going on there.
This feels like that Men in Black. I have so many problems with most Men in Black lore because, okay, let's say that they are worried that something happened and they're worried about the sighting has evidence of something they don't want the general public to know. Okay, they take the sighting, but also why wouldn't they just kill him? Why wouldn't they just kill him? You know, it's like people die all the time. You know, he's not super young anymore. He could have a stroke. He could have a heart attack.
Make it look accidental.
Yeah, and no one would ever question it. And then this all just goes away.
Yeah.
Like, why do they let these people just keep making videos and going to conferences and stuff in these kind of situations?
Yeah. No, that's a great point. It also doesn't make sense for the, which we'll get into later, like the whole, he's now a sex offender and whatnot. And he's like, oh, the government did that to me. They would probably just kill you
right.
if it was
just
something that sensitive, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if it was that important.
Yeah.
He'd be missing.
Yeah,
exactly.
He'd just be missing. He'd disappear. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
so only a few months earlier, before this happened with the sighting, one of Stan's most famous encounters happened on July 17th, 2003, around 11:45 p.m. Stan said this instance, quote, put him on the map, but he's also, quote, gotten the most crap for it. So at the time, he had been living in Kearney, Nebraska, the middle of nowhere at the time, and he had been watching TV. Out of the corner of his eye, he thought he saw a peeping Tom staring in through one of his windows. He figured a man might have been trying to look at his stepdaughters who were in bed at the time. Stan claimed this had been going on for about 3 months. Police had been notified, the neighbors knew, and Stan even set up booby traps outside. And this time he also set up a camera to try to capture the peeping Tom again. So this, if you ever hear about Stan Romanek, this is kind of the quintessential video that you'll see.
So this is 11:50 p.m.
There he is. Who's out there?
Mm-hmm. Who's running the camera?
It's on a tripod.
I think he has a tripod.
Okay, he put it on there.
All right, I'm going to go to bed.
Okay.
Just so you know.
I like his tough guy frolic too.
He did a little skip.
Like a true tough guy. He's frolicking.
Goes around outside.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Signals the guy with the puppet.
Mm-hmm. I like Josh's theory that there's not even another guy working the puppet, that he has to run around.
There he is.
Oh my God.
A little gray alien head
Just peeking in.
peeks in.
Looks around. Apparently doesn't notice that there's a camera filming it.
Yeah.
Looks directly into the camera.
Die. Oh, it saw the camera finally. It's eyesight.
Now he's
Does
running
he have
back
enough
inside.
time? Yeah.
Just doing some little skips.
Oh, there he is again.
Oh.
Oh.
Might as well check the same window twice. I see now.
Make sure that camera's still pointing at you.
Yeah. They came back pretty fast.
He's That is so sad. That is so sad that's his big one. I mean, that looks so faked.
So fake.
Beyond.
So fake.
He got on Amazon or whatever was the equivalent then.
Yeah, right.
For $50, he got like a little alien, foam filled figure.
Yeah,
like they have like almost like a lawn decoration.
Yeah, they were selling some Halloween decorations at the Gap.
Totally.
Right before the cash
Yeah,
register.
Spirit Halloween.
Hey, there we go. Yeah. When he snagged that. Yeah.
He just walked in, hey, I'm trying to pull off a hoax. What do you guys got?
Yeah, and so this did end up getting him the most crap because it's so obviously fake.
Yeah,
right?
He could have done such a better job at reacting to this thing.
Oh yeah, his weird little skip jump.
Just why wouldn't you be like, oh my God.
Oh, my canary.
Yeah. But he's like, whoa.
It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous.
And then how do you know it was even there? I thought he went to bed. Right. He said, I'm going to bed. So how do you even know the thing was over there?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to bed. Crawls out his bedroom window.
Yeah. And also, curiously, obviously this happened before he had the exterior camera. But it's like, if you're going to set up one and you already know they're outside your house, why not set one
Get a
up
trail
outside?
cam outside or something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. A motion sensing spotlight.
Right.
Yep.
Come on. God. So after this, similar looking creatures were later captured in photographs in his backyard.
And by similar looking, it's the same
it's the
object
same doll.
he bought. It's the same doll.
Yeah.
It has been planted in different positions.
Yep. And he always makes it really obscure. Like he puts it out in the background where it's really dark. And these are zoomed in images of like behind what he's actually photographing.
Well, and then it's also important to note that these seem like different aliens than the ones that came to his front door based on his sketches.
Yeah.
This is like a small, seems like a small little guy, like a traditional gray alien. 3.5 feet tall, no boobs, no hair.
Yeah.
Black eyes versus like the blue eyes that he had drawn in the sketches. So now he's being visited by a whole other species.
He couldn't front the money for a doll that looks like that. He just had to get the discount one.
I like the one where they're in the grass, and maybe just me, but like looking at it, because we don't know the scale, the way it's like shot. Doesn't the grass look exceptionally large?
Yes.
Like it looks like
miniature figures.
He got miniature figures, like he made them out of clay or something.
Yeah,
and just set them out there in the yard, and then put his camera on the grass for a still image.
Yep. Yeah, we're talking low budget here.
Real low budget.
Him out there laying in the grass.
Just right.
He's like, what's Dad
what
doing
does
again?
His family think he's doing.
God, right?
Good God.
We'll later find out his wife believes every single word.
Does she though? Like
she at least said that in the documentary. So
she reminds me of, just from also a lot of true crime, which I know you guys are very familiar with, like the wife of a serial killer. Who just gets so good, like, well, that's Ronnie. You know, sometimes he leaves and he comes back with blood. I don't question it. I just, focus on my stuff. It's like they just go to this mental space of, I will question nothing. As long as he's happy, I'm happy.
Right.
And they just turn their brain off to
the blinders on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So another time, this is wild, in 2007, strange images that look like alien selfies were found on his digital cameras. Like, come on, dude.
I like that it can't even take a good selfie. Like it's this advanced, and it's never in frame correctly.
What is this? Yeah.
What is this advanced technology?
Ridiculous.
And then what, like the one alien looks like no nose. Then it looks like we're looking at some nose holes here.
Right. Yeah, it's not even biologically the same creature.
It looks like two different
species.
And it's just like, come on, man.
Total bogus.
One, this is like the first time in recorded history that an abductee's been like, alien selfies showed up on my digital cameras.
Right.
Come on.
It's too far. It's too far. During another incident on March 5th, 2005, Stan woke up on the living room couch at 1:35 a.m. He thought he saw a naked figure out of the corner of his eye running across his house. So he went to check on his children, who were all fast asleep. He then instinctively grabbed his camera and began searching around the house. A little after 3 a.m., he spotted a creature inside his home. This one is probably, in my opinion, the most ridiculous one out of them all.
Why hasn't he blown these things away with his 12 gauge by now? Like,
and for a guy who's going to be convicted of, child pornography later, it just is cringy, where it's like all these stories about he's worried about the kids. He's worried about somebody peeping on the kids.
Yeah.
He's got to check on the children. It's peeping Tom. It's like, are you projecting, buddy?
Yep.
Yeah,
there
it
you
almost
go.
feels like some weird fantasy. Like he's getting off on it in a way.
Yep.
True.
Like he's creating this ideal situation, which is a thing. Like there's people that claim to have had sex with aliens and fathered alien children.
Oh yeah, I need my seed.
Yeah, like they take Starseed literally. I gotta plant my seed.
Yeah.
12:45 a.m.
Nobody outside. I have no clue what the heck's going on. Oh well. Oh my God.
He's been.
What is that? Holy shit.
It's the same.
What's it doing?
What's it doing?
Holy shit. Oh man. Where the fuck did it go? Oh my God. I can't believe it. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Holy shit. Oh my God. Is it? I can't see it anymore. Where'd it go? I can't believe that. I can't believe what I just freaking saw. Oh my God.
The freaking.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
That's more of his Bloods and Crips coming through. He's like, what the frick?
What the frick? Where'd it go? What's it doing? That's like there's that, what is it, a Progressive commercial where they're making fun of horror movie tropes? and these people are scared. They're outside and they're like, oh my God, we got to get out of here. And one person's like, let's just go into the running car and drive away. Are you crazy? And he's like, no, let's get behind that wall of chainsaws.
Right. Yeah.
It's like his reactions there. It's like, oh, so you're afraid of this thing.
Right.
But then you're also yelling things out. What's it doing? You wouldn't do that.
No.
If I saw a monster or alien that I'm afraid of in my house, I'm going to be quiet. If I'm genuinely afraid for my life, I'm probably going to put the camera down. And just run, as opposed to just getting closer and then just constantly, what the frick?
Right.
Oh gosh, what's it doing?
Frolicking around the house, hopping.
Yeah. Oh, it's going for my Zemas.
Yeah.
What's it? No, it's got my flute.
It also doesn't make sense.
No care for his family.
No, not at all.
There could be a killer alien out there. He's like, whoa, let's go look at him. Whoa.
That's true. Like, wouldn't you yell if your wife and kids get out of the house?
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Get my gun.
And it also doesn't make sense that, so we see this thing, right? It's right there in his, I think it's his kitchen. And then he's like, oh, where did it go? And he goes straight to the window behind him to look out the window. I was like, it was in your kitchen.
Yeah, just follow it.
Why didn't you just go out the door? It was looking at you.
Right.
Why are you like running around your house? Now I'm watching this back again years later. I'm like, when you said Blair Witch, I was like, that's exactly what he's doing
going for.
Here. He like turned this into this found footage film, a bad horror.
Oh God,
yeah, exactly.
What if he actually is so delusional, or was so delusional, that he thought his found footage that he's putting together could be the next Blair Witch? Because that movie made a crazy amount of money.
That's what I was thinking when you brought that up. I was like, maybe he was trying to make that. For whatever reason, he kind of failed to make a cohesive narrative. Yeah. So then he ended up turning it into this documentary.
And that's how he got his wife on board, perhaps, maybe too. Or like, clearly he had help with that. Somebody was moving that little puppet the last time, that little figure.
Yeah.
And I bet he had sold his family on like, we're going to make so much money. I know this seems weird, but just trust me. Oh, we're going to cash in.
Yeah.
It's making a lot more sense to me now.
Yeah, definitely.
It's the only thing that makes sense at this point.
That was great. His acting is phenomenal.
So,
I mean, what a triple threat: fighter, flute player, actor. Like, so much talent.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
Legendary.
Legend.
And apparently that night, the last thing he remembered was waking up on the kitchen floor, but he couldn't even remember falling asleep. Of course, it's just like, it always ends with something like that. These encounters ended up getting so bizarre that on July 14th, 2005, a man named Christopher Moon visited Stan's home for a ghost investigation. This is where it gets really weird. It's no longer aliens here. We have shadow figures, orbs, odd noises. These had all been witnessed inside Stan's house. For years, shadow figures were photographed and videotaped in corners of the house and even moving across rooms. The family cats would constantly freak out, and Stan even caught a shadow figure holding a TV remote for whatever reason.
That's so random.
Yeah,
it's bored. Yeah. What's on? It comes in this dimension to watch some reruns or late night infomercials.
What channel is X-Files on?
Yeah, right. Other times, his stereo speakers emanated a high-pitched buzzing noise. For years, Stan had also witnessed orange orbs just outside and within his home.
So much going on.
So notice that he's bringing his house into it, too. He's now implying that he's lived in this haunted house for years and years and years. And the alien stuff might be new, but I've been dealing with shit for a long time. I've been having all sorts of crazy activity.
Which is also hilarious if it's like this found footage thing we're going with, that he can't even pick a lane. He's like, should I do the alien thing or should we do the shadow figures?
What if it's not convincing enough?
Right.
I'm picturing all these crazy outtakes, like the things that didn't make it into the documentary. And there's another scene where he's like looking at the aliens like, oh my God, where'd it go? And then he swifts the camera around, and then it's somebody in like a gorilla suit. And he's like, Sasquatch! He's like, what are you doing here? Oh my God!
And then he shifts to cryptids.
Right, exactly. And then he shifts again. It's someone wearing like a shadowy costume. Oh, the shadow figure's back. It's just so much happening at once.
Everything.
It cuts to a close-up of clearly it's like a My Little Pony, but he's like, and a unicorn! Oh my God!
Man, so he really does have it all here. And about a year later, on May 9th, 2006, Stan was abducted again. He had injured his leg a few days earlier on May 5th while painting the eave of his house. After falling 12 feet from a ladder, his foot landed in a wheelbarrow full of bricks beneath him. He ended up tearing a ligament near his hamstring. Why is there a wheelbarrow of bricks
underneath the ladder?
It says Acme on it. What's going on at this house? He ended up tearing a ligament near his hamstring, and the doctor said he would need surgery the following Wednesday. But that Tuesday night, so a day before where he needed surgery, Lisa woke up, noticed Stan wasn't in bed. The lights wouldn't turn on. She noticed the breakers had flipped, which is this. Apparently, this happened a lot whenever Stan was abducted. The breakers would flip.
It's like cut power to the house.
Yeah, I know, right? This fucking weirdo.
These poor kids, man.
Oh my God.
I feel so bad for his kids, like having to put up with this shit. They're trying to just like watch TV in bed. And it's like,
Dad's at it again. God damn it.
Hear him on the roof, walking around.
Yeah, we know you're not being abducted.
Yeah.
Spotlights outside. Jesus, dude. We'll make it.
Oh my God. His kids canceling plans. No, I can't come over to the sleepover. I gotta work this puppet for my dad's video.
Oh my God. At 12:30 at night.
Yeah. Yeah, you notice that stamp too? Oh, okay, this is kind of, we're going back to that video where he catches him in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So he said he woke up at 12:30.
Right. Timestamp did not match on the video.
No, and then he said it starts, he looked for it at 1:30, and then it was 3:05 a.m. or whatever on the
video.
So what? He's been looking for a single alien inside his house for several hours? It can't be that big of a house. Right. What's going on? So yeah, this other specific night, Lisa, she wakes up, the power's off. She walks into the living room. She was surprised to see, I don't know why she was surprised, but she sees Stan there in a daze. It was odd, but hey, this has been quite common lately. So they shrugged it off. They decided to go back to bed. When he woke up in the morning, he claimed they, you could assume it's some aliens or something, had fixed his leg. And he noticed 5 holes in a vertical line up the outside of his right leg. He said it felt a little stiff, but there was no pain. And he no longer needed surgery. And, quote, an associate of his doctor at the hospital couldn't explain it, according to Stan.
I love details like that. And I went to the doctor. And did you talk to the doctor? No, but I spoke with his associate.
Yeah. Okay.
Is the doctor in? No, his associate can talk to you though.
Yeah.
Just some random dude.
Yeah.
The closet down at the right there.
Yeah. Right. And that's it. Researchers later found his leg brace completely melted outside in his yard.
Why was that done? We're gonna heal his leg and then melt his leg brace.
Let's smoke it and try it out for dinner.
Right.
And apparently they also left a, quote, grass circle, which I know crop circles are really big around here.
I don't know about this.
In his backyard. It looks
the lamest crop circle.
Oh, yeah.
So it looks similar to one they had left, apparently a prior abduction. They had left it outside. Like
that is the saddest circle.
Looks like where
a lawnmower just went in circles.
Or like
times.
A baby pool was set there.
Right, killed the grass.
That's like
exactly.
a baby pool.
That's so good.
Yep, that's it.
That is totally
What
it.
little alien spaceship? What are these little miniature aliens? Like, what is this?
Yep.
Yeah. Man, so destruction of his property apparently continued when on February 2nd, 2007, he discovered all his prescription bottles had been melted and destroyed.
It's a really mixed message where these aliens are going to come that have been harassing him and he's afraid of them, but now they just randomly fix his leg after his Looney Tunes fall into the wheelbarrow of bricks. But then they also destroy his prescription meds. It's
don't need these.
Are you helping me or hurting me?
He hates doctors is what I'm reading from this. It's so odd.
So throughout all these odd encounters, Stan and his family reportedly received threatening letters from strangers claiming that they were watching them. In 2004, Stan was also attacked by strangers while riding his...
This is great.
I love this. While riding his bike to work. So he's still riding his bike. The assailants, what looked to him like 4 men, were driving around in a black SUV, and they had what he called high and tight military haircuts. What do they look like, Stan? Oh, just high and tight.
Really tight cargo pants.
It's just shredded.
This has got to be a fantasy.
Broad shoulders, piercing blue eyes.
Man buns. Big guns.
And, to make sure that, I guess they could let Stan know that they were military, they had camo pants.
Yeah, very apparent. Yeah.
So of course, they're going to wear and in gray jackets. He thought they were possibly black ops or military. At first, he thought they were drunk military guys causing trouble, so he ignored them, just kept riding his bike, kept pedaling away toward the area behind his work where he usually locked up his bike. The men followed him into the back parking lot, cut him off with their SUV now.
That's so dramatic.
Again, yep, out of a movie. Man in the passenger seat now tells him to keep his mouth shut, but Stan was like, I hadn't said anything. Then the man gets out of the vehicle, punches Stan in the face. Well, Stan fights back, and he whips.
Does he?
This is maybe my favorite detail from everything we've talked about. He says he fought back, whipped the man with a spare bike chain. Who carries a spare bike chain that they just have handy that they can just whip somebody with? That's like a Steven Seagal move. Yeah. That's some Jean-Claude Van Damme. That's some like late 80s, early mid 90s action movie shit.
He's got a little basket in the front of his bike.
Spare bike chains. I'm surprised he didn't say he hit him with a throwing star.
Right.
Or something. He got his nunchucks.
Yeah.
Pulled his samurai sword out of his back.
Okay, so he whips this guy with a spare bike chain. At one point, he thought he killed the man. When after hitting him with a spare bike chain, the guy was convulsing on the ground because he's lethal. More of the men in the SUV now attack him. This is also like an action movie trope. So only one guy gets out. Punches him in the face. The other guy's like, yeah, get him, Tony. Come on, Ernie. You gotta kick his ass.
Nerd's riding his bike to work.
And then they're like, oh, shit, he's got a spare bike chain. And then he like knocks their friend out and he's convulsing. Yeah. And then now the next guy gets out to fight. So yeah, now the other guys start attacking him. Eyewitnesses call police. Meanwhile, Stan said he felt a burning sensation along his back. He fell to the ground. One of the men was carrying a quote, small yellow object in his hand. That was later discovered to be a taser. The men then jumped back into the SUV and fled.
So what was the fucking point of that? They're just bored. They're like, this guy.
Yeah. Keep your mouth shut.
Keep your mouth shut.
Come on. 4 military dudes, after you just whip them with a bike chain, are just gonna
killed one.
Are just going to tase you and drive off.
Right, that's so random. A taser, too.
They're going to put a bag over your fucking head and throw you in the SUV.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah.
I mean, he was so scary, they didn't want to get close.
Like,
they had to be taser distance away from him. Yeah, this is nonsense. Police arrived a few minutes later, took a statement. The police report showed that Stan only suffered from, quote, minor cuts, and he also denied medical treatment. I mean, well, he doesn't need it.
Right, because it was a false...
And he's so tough.
Yeah.
He later claimed he ended up with a broken wrist and a broken nose that he just kind of laughed off, I guess. He said the mysterious threats continued. In January 2006, Stan found the words, "You can't hide," written on the side of his computer. One monitor even showed an aerial view of his house. Almost everything on the computer had been wiped.
Okay, theory?
Except for the child porn.
That's my theory, is that maybe someone was onto him or catching up to some weird shit that he had on his computer, and he wiped it, and he tried to play it into the narrative of like the alien stuff. Yeah, planting the seeds.
That's smart. Yeah.
He didn't wipe it enough.
No.
Yeah, clearly.
Well, he couldn't let it go. He was too attached to his favorite files.
Yeah.
Other times, strange voicemails from someone with a British accent, that's random, would end up on his answer machine, but they didn't seem to be threatening. This voicemail, here's one of them. It's so weird.
Yeah. I don't know why this even got brought into this.
I don't either.
It makes no sense.
Nope.
Because that's the thing with this whole story is it just takes this really weird turn. It's like starts off as just aliens and UFO sightings.
Yeah.
Then it gets like, this called Aubrey is what he says this name of this voice is.
I apologize for being so forward. It did not take us long to get your phone numbers. Our surveillance is mostly for passive monitoring, but it does come in handy. I cannot tell you who I am for safety reasons, but I can tell you that your perceptions of Stan Romanek and his experiences are real. As you have probably noticed, Stan is slightly different. The way he thinks, the way he perceives the world, seems to be a little more advanced than usual. The interesting thing is that Stan has no idea who he really is.
Why is this lady calling Stan to talk about Stan as if she's talking to other people?
Right.
Like,
very odd.
No, if you would leave that... In theory, this person would leave this message on the people who drove the SUV who were harassing Stan. Hey, leave Stan alone.
Yeah.
He's special. He's a nice guy.
You go straight to the Oval Office.
Right. You wouldn't call Stan to be like, Stan Romanek is an advanced person.
Thank you.
He's very special. Wow, that's very nice.
I appreciate that. At least somebody thinks
compliments I've always wanted and I've never gotten.
Yeah. I feel like, is that for like his wife? See? Listen to her.
Yeah, probably.
This voice will call him several more times. It always referred to him as Starseed. Sometimes Stan would talk to the voice for up to 2 hours. Another time he received a strange call that emitted an odd sound that caused him to pass out. The voice claimed it was all part of the process towards the, quote, next step. And it warned him that it wasn't safe to live in Colorado Springs. From these conversations, Stan believed he was meant for a greater purpose now. Mm-hmm. Of course. And this reminds me of like the Randy Kramers.
Yep.
These people, they're destined for great things. They're so important.
Taken as a child.
Mm-hmm.
Abducted and then taken to serve in the secret space program and, all to further humanity into the future and bridge the divide between the extraterrestrials and us humans.
Yeah.
It's wild stuff, man.
If anybody watching or listening knows of Randy Kramer, go back and look like this, and it's Cramer, almost the same person. Him and Stan, it's like they are very much cut from the same cloth. It's like an archetype in this kind of arena.
Does he also claim he's a Starseed?
I believe he does claim he's a Starseed. He definitely, his thing was, Randy's thing was the Martian Marine. He was part of this, it's called like the Earth Defense Force. And he was like this really weird story where he says he was taken out as a child, but out of time. Like he was taken out of our timeline and then raised in this military facility to fight these different races of aliens on Mars on behalf of, this one world government type thing. And then put back, like as a kid, it didn't make any sense. He had somehow grown up, become this adult fighting on Mars, and then got thrown back into his timeline originally, and now he's suddenly, his body changed, I guess, because now he's like a little kid again, and then grows up on the main timeline, and then feels weird, there's something different about me, and then goes to hypnotherapy, and that's when he learns, oh, you had 2 lives, basically. You had this whole other life that they didn't tell you about, where you're part of this government secret operation to defend Earth from alien forces.
Wow.
Yeah, and went on the big speaking tour, all the conventions, got lots of attention. And seems almost like even the way he talks, the way he looks, very similar to Stan.
Really?
Yeah. I wonder if they could be cousins. I know. Yeah.
Well, it's, this is also the point at which Stan decides I'm under some type of threat. And he obviously had the whole encounter with the Men in Black and the SCP.
Mm-hmm. He handled himself pretty well.
Yeah. Which, I don't know why you'd be scared after that. You should just whip these 4 guys.
As long as he has a bike chain handy.
Crouching Tiger, hidden Stan Romanek.
Hidden Romanek.
Or is it the authorities are starting to be, kind of get on to him? Or maybe he starts sensing that maybe I'm being watched like for other reasons.
Yep.
Maybe he's starting to, because it's interesting that he gets all wiggy about his computer at this point. And you almost wonder if he's like, feels like or notices something's off, like that he's being watched for other reasons, the sex abuse material on his computer. He's starting to get a little paranoid about that. But he's trying to like play it into the narrative, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Could be.
A little smoke screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he does say like a picture of a girl.
Yeah.
Like a girl shows up in the narrative now hiding in his yard. That's weird based on what we know about him.
Yeah, and this becomes kind of like his thesis. This is like, oh, this is my higher purpose, is what he eventually
this is where it just gets flat out fucking bizarre and just creepy. Because in 2009, Stan witnessed an unknown, this is weird, little girl in his backyard. Which,
good God.
Okay. So, meanwhile, his neighbor was hosting a party next door, and Stan caught a picture of the girl hiding in his backyard.
What?
Which I don't even really know what to make of that. Like, did that really happen? Was he like luring somebody in? Like, who knows? Was
it just one of the neighbor
kids hiding? They're playing games in the neighborhood. What's going on there?
Why is it important to him? What's going on in his head? Where he's like, oh, this is noteworthy.
Yeah.
But not all of Stan's encounters looked like conventional gray aliens, like, as you've seen in the footage here. But he found it odd when one looked completely human. He showed his neighbor and a few others at the party the picture he had just taken, and moments later, the picture supposedly mysteriously disappeared from his camera. Of course, this happens a lot. Then his home phone rang, and the static voice of a little girl broke through saying, quote, Daddy, don't worry, we're fine. It's too dangerous for us there right now. You couldn't protect us, even if you wanted to. We didn't mean to interrupt your call, but we thought you should know there are 9 of us. 7 of the same, and 2, each one with different... ... I am the oldest. I am named Kioma. It means Trinity. And Heidi. For you, my sister's name is Trilly. It means to shine. Daddy, we know you are excited about your talk this weekend, but please be careful. There are some that don't want you to talk at all. Sorry for the bad connection.
This sounded like shit, which is why I didn't.
Yeah. It's pretty bad audio. Yeah. It's all we have for such long distances. So the cellular signal is not great. If we get disconnected, it means that we have, and then like ... and the connection ended there. So
they can visit him. They can travel through the space to visit him, but they're having trouble with their long distance phone calls.
Yeah.
And this is implying that he has alien offspring. That he's an alien daddy.
He's working a lot of stuff into this story.
And it's just it's not helping his case.
No.
I imagine
the focus on female children.
Yes.
Now not looking good for him.
Right. No. That same year, Stan's daughter took a picture of him and captured a little girl's head in the window behind him. And take a look at this picture. It's... I don't know.
The close-up doesn't match to me like what's actually like the picture there. It feels like they just photoshopped
it does look
stuff for the quote close-up.
Totally. Yeah. You can't really make out.
It's like the same thing as before where they just put a doll in the lower spot of a window outside.
It could be that too.
Yeah. So not only that, a footprint was found outside, and apparently the flowers there survived through the winter because of whatever being had stood there. Years later, a child's handprint was also discovered on the window.
But how is that noteworthy? Like, he has kids. There's kids in the neighborhood.
How does he know that it's not
just
some kid playing games in the neighborhood? Kids going to other yards all the time.
All the time.
Like, the fact that he's like, well, the flowers survived. So
right.
There was something angelic here. But as for most of Stan's experiences, many of them revolve around his earliest ones. And when he later recalled his first abduction experience, this set the scene for many of his later encounters. He recalled his first abduction during a regression therapy session in 2004. And in every abduction that he could remember, he was, quote, up there with a, quote unquote, human female. So this is where it gets creepy here. Stan assumed aliens were secretly observing the 2 of them. During his first one, they were led into a room together. 7 children of different ages were waiting for them. Some looked more human than others. Some had hair, while others had none.
This is getting creepy.
Yeah.
And he didn't mention, female entities before when he had memories, when he could perfectly recall everything. It's like now as the timeline goes forward, now he's retroactively adding these women into his past experiences.
Yeah, human females, because he did mention like the one alien female at that really early.
Right.
Yeah, this is the first time we're getting like this weird genealogy of alien humans.
Because he said earlier he could recall perfectly, right? Like a few years ago,
right? When he would go through the hypno,
and he doesn't mention it then,
right?
So that's weird.
But let's hear Stan describe his experience. One of the children he had.
Oh, God.
Some of them looked more human, some of them looked less human, some of them had hair, some of them didn't. And I'm looking at these children, and I'll never forget.
He's so full of shit.
Every single time I talk about this. This one little girl comes up to me and hugs my leg. And I'm looking down at this beautiful little child hugging my leg, and I realized that this kid looks like me, and she's beautiful. But she's different because it's all about the eyes. She has these huge, oversized, almond-shaped, slanted, so blue they're almost violet eyes. Beautiful blonde hair, and she's just clinging onto my leg like, please don't let me go. I don't want to leave him behind.
You don't want to leave who behind?
The babies? What are you feeling right now besides the fact that you don't want to leave them?
They're crying.
They're crying? What tells you that they're crying?
I can see them crying. They're reaching for me and they're making me go.
Mm-hmm. The children are making you go?
No. They're taking me away from them.
I still think the most, convincing part of the whole thing was his very, very first thing. And then it just, everything else has been bogus.
But then he wouldn't be a big figure. He wouldn't be going on like these, tours of, conventions and stuff. Yeah. He wouldn't be getting all these interviews and attention.
Right.
Yep. He would have just been one of many people who probably saw something.
Right.
Saw something. It. Yeah. And that's it.
That was it.
Yeah. Not trying to build a career out of it. You just happened to see something.
Yeah.
He let that creativity run wild.
Mm-hmm,
right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what else can I think of here? Keep this whole story going.
I mean, Starseeds, they're not meant to be background players.
Yeah. It's main character energy here all day.
Surprised he didn't go to Hollywood.
Oh, he might have.
Yeah. I guess if he was out in LA, maybe.
Mm-hmm. There could be that whole backstory too that we just don't know about of like, he could have tried to set up meetings with producers and stuff and no one would return his calls.
Yeah. I mean, that plays more into like the found footage thing and kind of maybe a failed attempt at something else with all this footage. Yeah. And then he eventually just landed on, let's make a documentary. And that's like the only
that'll
deal
lead to the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Well, it gets even wilder. On June 28th, 2008, while Stan spoke at an event in Colorado Springs, he noticed a woman in the audience who looked extremely familiar. He later realized it was a woman he was always abducted with. Now, there's nothing creepy about that. Hey, I think you and I get abducted together.
Yeah, and make all these kids.
Yeah. Her name was Victoria Albright, and they felt a strong connection and soon became very close friends, according to Stan, which put a strain on him. And his wife's marriage, as you can imagine.
God. He seems just like a pathological liar who wants to do whatever the hell he wants to do. And
this is how he's kind of weaving.
I bet he's trying to angle for an affair here.
Yeah.
Oh, 100% is what I think is going on.
It's like, we have these kids together that we have to parent.
Yeah. And so he's so deluded in that lie that he kind of sells her, his wife, on that lie too, so that he can keep communicating with this woman.
Right. Because the whole idea is that those 7 alien children are Victoria and Stan's offspring.
Right.
Which is very convenient. To set up an affair.
Yeah.
It's a wild way to set up an affair. My God.
But it's tracks for him.
We have alien children together. Yeah. It's okay. I love you too, honey.
Yeah.
I have to co-parent.
I have another family now. Yeah.
I mean, it's not really cheating. We've been having sex for years.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, God.
In another dimension or something.
Yeah, that's so weird. All those discussions, I can't even imagine.
Oh, my God.
To be a fly on the wall of those discussions would be wild. So at times, Stan and Victoria would disappear together, sometimes for hours at a time, which obviously this caused his wife, Lisa, a ton of stress. She worried their marriage would fail, but she never once doubted Stan's love for her. And in the documentary Extraordinary, she claimed that her husband was not a liar in regards to their marriage and the alien encounters. She claimed he never fabricated anything, and she backed him up entirely. But obviously many skeptics and even believers beg to differ.
Yeah. There's probably some other stuff we just don't know for why she's covering for him. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be more to the story.
For sure.
Just like, fuck this guy. I'm leaving you.
Yeah.
Who
Could be
knows?
somewhat, who knows what's going on in their private relationship. It could be an absolute nightmare in there. But back in 2008, Stan appeared on Larry King Live along with Jeff Peckman. So this is where we're going to get into a little bit of the debunking stuff here. But here's the Larry King Live thing was huge. It also put Stan on the map. So Jeff Peckman, he was a former mayoral candidate who endorsed Stan's story as part of his campaign for a Denver Extraterrestrial Affairs Commission on the Denver City Council.
Hell yes. Need that.
His government money going to waste. The measure was later defeated with 82% opposed on the vote. Many thought it was an additional strain on taxpayers, obviously, and an embarrassment to the area. Many critics claim that the only reason Stan was given a platform was because Jeff Peckman wanted to push the ET Affairs Commission. Makes sense in my eyes. And this opened a Stan up to critics and people looking to debunk his claims. So, after all Stan's 195 alleged encounters, it wasn't hard for anyone to begin debunking these claims at all. In 2008, George Noory interviewed him on the Coast to Coast AM, which, I mean, if you're even remotely into the alien sphere here, this is a big show, Coast to Coast. Stan agreed to take a lie detector test and failed on the question, quote, is the boo tape a hoax? The boo tape was the footage of the creature, popping into the window. Yeah. What's up, guys? So apparently Stan later said, hey, I have a medical condition that prevented a lie detector test from working on him. So I don't know.
An implant he got.
Yeah, right.
Had a magnet or something.
Yeah.
Was
oh my God.
And he also believed he was set up by the radio host.
Even Noory's in on it.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy. Stan, which is like, this is like, you're talking to other believers here on that platform.
Should be the easiest people to convince.
Slam dunk.
Yep.
Yeah. Stan then made an unverified claim that he consulted a video expert stating that the boo video would have cost $50,000 to fake. The Paranormal Claims Investigation Group, Rocky Mountain Paranormal Research Society, who Josh, debunked this claim and said that they reproduced the video for about $90.
Yeah, I talked to the investigator who worked on this case.
Yeah.
And he said it took him like $60 or something to redo it. Like it was the easiest thing. And they debunked every piece of evidence that Stan ever put forward. Then they have like a whole report that they released on it.
Yeah, I read through the PDF is still out there. We can even link it in the video. But yeah, I read through the whole thing. Yeah, they just go ham on him. They're like super sarcastic in there too.
Yeah,
like really
they
snotty.
hate Stan. Yeah, it's very obvious they hate people like that.
Yeah. So this is not the one in his kitchen. This is the one this is like the peeping Tom one from the window. But yeah, here's their version.
Pretty much the same.
Yeah. Different looking alien, but
maybe a little better actually.
Blink. Yeah, they made it blink.
Oh yeah. That's actually way better. More realistic movements.
Yeah.
Yeah. $90.
$90.
God, I would love it if he actually somehow did spend $50,000 to make his shitty video. Like some other grifter of a producer was like, I can make you a Hollywood alien encounter movie. Oh, no problem. I just need $50,000. Yeah. And that's the final, product he gets.
He's like, I went into debt for years
exactly.
to make this. Yeah.
Okay, so this research group has followed Stan's claims since the beginning, worked on debunking them for over a decade. On top of this, they released a 12-page report debunking many of his claims. It's probably the PDF you're referring to. Yeah,
that's it.
They replicated many of Stan's videos and pictures, and they pointed out how there was always a lack of consistency with his UFO sightings. They also pointed out the inconsistencies with his claims of how smart he was. On his website, he claimed his, quote, math competency is at a 4th grade level, but on the TV show Proof Positive, he said his IQ was at genius levels and never mentioned his dyslexia now.
Oh, shit.
There you go.
Oh, shit.
Yep, just can't keep a story straight. Mm-hmm. Stan also claimed in his hypnotic, quote, dream equations that a 10th planet named Xenia would be discovered. Not only was this never discovered, but Pluto was stripped of its planetary status, meaning only 8 planets exist in our solar system, not 10. As for the supporters of Stan's dream equations in the scientific community, the report shows how his scientific supporters have also had their theories debunked and are clearly biased. Or as they put it, quote, he chose only those with a predisposition to crazy alien stories. Parenthetical, believe me, there are plenty of them. He made no effort to show any skeptic how real his situation was. On top of all that, Dr. Seth Shostak, senior astronomer at the SETI Institute, weighed in. Note Dr. Frank Drake, who created Drake's equation we mentioned earlier, the founder of SETI. And Dr. Shostak said, Stan could have cribbed them from just about anywhere. College texts, the web, even Wikipedia. They're no more proof that he's been in contact with aliens than his stories are. So there goes that.
Yep.
The report also replicated Stan's glowing wounds. And they also said that his minor wounds that healed in 2 days, not extraordinary. They theorized that his alleged implant could have been something calcified inside of him. Its shape was square, possibly even a fragment of salt. Unfortunately, since it was destroyed, there was no way of accurately examining it. They theorized the implant dried out, broke on its own. As for Stan's photographic evidence, they either looked staged or poorly photoshopped. Yep. And Stan even claimed he wouldn't be using the video footage of the creature in his kitchen because it looked too, quote, fake. After many of Stan's claims were debunked, the documentary Extraordinary, The Stan Romanek Story was released in 2013. Many called it bizarre, ridiculous, a travesty. Some of the video evidence felt to some audience members like an SNL sketch. One reviewer called Stan adult and a deceiver and a charlatan. Another said, I'm a believer, but I don't believe this.
Right.
Exactly.
If you can't even get the believers on board, it must be pretty bad, right?
No. And especially when you look at the totality of it all. The more you look into everything, if it was just one instance or two, it'd be like, okay, I don't know. Who knows?
Right.
But when you look at it, like you zoom out and look at it all together, it's bad. It's so ridiculous. Bad. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So at the time that his film or documentary was released, Stan was up living in Loveland, Colorado, which is probably about an hour north of Denver, Colorado, if you're not familiar. But on February 13, 2014, Stan Romanek was arrested after turning himself into the Larimer County Jail on charges of possessing and distributing child sex abuse material. And there is his mugshot in all of its glory there.
Scummer.
Dude, imagine like talking to your cellmates as Stan Romanek.
Oh my God.
Holy crap.
Like what a wild, rough time that must have been.
I'd request a cell transition immediately.
Yeah. I would love to get interviews with cellmates of his who are like, oh, this guy just wouldn't shut up.
Yeah.
He's so full of shit.
He made a homemade flute.
We were making shivs and he was making flutes.
It turns out, Stan takes his shirt off and it's like American History X kind of like tattoo stuff. He's like a badass prison gang member.
I'm Stanley Tiger.
Exactly.
I went by Tiger in prison.
Giant tiger chest plate tattoo and stuff. He owns the yard. Everyone's afraid of him.
He's like, my alien friends will show up. Well, they never did.
Nope.
So this was all a result of an 8-month investigation by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. More than 300 images as well as video files depicting child sex abuse material were found on his computer at his home in Loveland, Colorado. He was released on a $20,000 personal recognizance bond. In February 2014, his wife Lisa said, quote, "We will be taking ufology into the courtroom." Okay.
Wow, great defense.
Sounds good. But his attorneys decided this was not relevant to the case. They're like, this is not going to help you, man.
Imagine being the defendant.
Oh my gosh.
Like the attorney for the defendant. Like, I would be like, this is a nightmare.
Yeah.
I have to try and defend this guy. His wife wanted to bring aliens into this case. Like, this is an absolute.
I would, like you said, a transfer. I would absolutely request a transfer.
Yeah.
Like, I do not want to be associated with this nonsense.
This is a lost case.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in March 2016, he pleaded not guilty to both charges after refusing a plea deal. So he was pretty confident that he's going to be able to get past this. Both his wife, Lisa, and sister Ann publicly defended him. But on August 8, 2017, he was found guilty of felony sexual exploitation of a child with intent to sell or publish, and the sexual exploitation of a child with video and 20 plus items. So that's a little bit more than just like finding a file or two in there. It seems like he was like full blown
acquiring for years,
distributing it, uploading, who knows what
sexually explicit videos, sexually explicit photos of young children.
Yeah.
On December 14, 2017, he was sentenced to serve 2.5 years in the Larimer County Community Corrections halfway house and to register as a sex offender. As a sex offender, he was subjected to 10 years of intensive supervised probation, and he was not allowed to use computers or electronic devices unmonitored and not allowed contact with children under the age of 18 without approval from the Community Corrections Program, which thank God.
Yeah.
Stan alleged that the government had planted all of that evidence on his computer.
Of course.
And at the sentencing hearing, Deputy DA Joshua Ritter accused him of deception, which thank God somebody called him out on shit. I'm glad the DA was like, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
He said, quote, "To try to place blame on others and doctoring evidence in the form of videos falsely alleging that his computer had been hacked." Stan even tried to frame his stepson, Jacob Shattuck, for placing the sexual abuse material on his computer, which that says so much about him. Even when he's been caught red-handed, still trying to pass it off and not take accountability.
And it also, even if people were going to buy into the story of like, it was the government trying to put this on his computer. Well, then why? Then he's like, no, it was actually my stepson. So you could
he
tell
abandoned that real quick. And he's like, well, it's the next
Jake did it. Jake did it. Yeah. I hope his wife left him after that. After trying to get her son convicted, like registered as a sex offender?
Sure.
I don't think we know.
Yeah, we don't.
I'm not sure.
I would hope so.
Hopefully.
So too.
Hopefully wherever he is now, he's alone.
Yes.
Well, in 2017, he allegedly planned to appeal, but to this day, he never has. Afterward, he kept making unverified claims that physical illness was keeping him from complying with the court's orders, whatever that means. So his sex offender program was delayed and an arrest warrant was filed in 2018. Allegedly, he suffered from bacteria infections, a seizure disorder, and respiratory issues. After more of these claims of, quote, contagious disease caused him to miss several more court dates during his original sentence, he was resentenced on November 30th, 2020 to 10 more years of intense supervised probation.
Got him.
And he would also have to remain a sex offender.
Good.
So today he's 61 years old, and we looked far and wide to try to figure out if there's any, sign of Stan anywhere closer to today than 2018. And there's nothing. Like, he is completely off the internet. It seems like.
I found his sex offender registry information, and they put him at the Loveland address back in 2018.
So he could still be up in Loveland.
Yeah, he could still be there.
Probably. That last picture of him is just like womp womp womp. It's just like, I feel like you can't see his arms. I feel he's like, well, they got me.
Well, it was a fun ride.
Exactly. Had a good run.
Hopefully I make it big, but
oh god,
what a complete just
piece
disaster.
of shit.
Disaster.
Like, you go, man, and we were talking about, Ian and I were talking about this, the other writer from Mile Higher, because we've come across these abduction cases, and it's shocking the amount of people who are pedophiles at the end of all of it. Like, I don't know what that connection is there. It's like, why do all these people, is it they're trying to cover something up, so they play into this crazy fantasy narrative to try and smoke screen certain things about their personal life? Because you'd think you wouldn't want to be put on the radar, like, and have a documentary about you and all this if you weren't open to scrutiny, right? But then it turns out there's a bunch of scummers out there, especially in the alien abduction arena.
Maybe there's some connection with just like the lying, like if you're somebody who is a pedophile, you're probably, I would imagine you're lying all the time.
Sure.
And creating fake stories, to deflect from what you're really doing. And I mean, that is pretty common. You're presenting yourself as something totally different than what you are. So maybe that's the correlation.
Yeah, I can see that.
It seems like he's almost like kind of living out this inner child. In a way, he's kind of, he's really like this big baby in a man's suit.
Yeah.
Just the way that he acts and the way that the story's unfolding, it's so like, storybook like. It's almost like the story you hear as a kid, and the whole having kids.
It comes off like playground bullshit, doesn't it? Yeah, it kind of is like that.
And I feel like in a lot of these stories, if you look, like, there's another David Huggins is another interesting individual who he's much, much older, kind of when his whole story came out. There's a film on his story out there, Love and Saucers is what it's called. But it's kind of a similar situation where he claimed to have lost his virginity to an alien, and he actually began like breeding with this alien woman over the years, and he truly believes in his heart of hearts that he's like fathered all these alien children. Wow. He would like be taken and visit them, and he paints. The whole thing is like he paints pictures of all of these things that he's experienced and of his children and stuff. And there's like, and I think they dive into it a little bit, and it went back to his childhood. And I almost wonder, if we knew the real story of Stan's childhood, it would provide a lot of clarity to maybe why things turn out the way that it did. And that there's clearly this need to belong, and he's constantly searching for this identity, and it keeps changing and be special and get attention. And so I think as, most people who end up evil in the end, you go back to their childhood, and you're able to kind of find maybe an action or an event
this little pivot moment.
That pivot moment that kind of sent them down this path. And I think Stan probably has that somewhere. I don't know if it was,
probably getting shot,
getting shot
or stabbed.
getting his ass beat by Debo every day. Really just set him on this course.
Because he tried to he tried to be good. He got into flute and playing, and he tried to get spiritual.
Well, that's where it started too. Is he was trying to find his calling. And, enlighten humanity, spread peace and love, and all of that. And then it just, as soon as the fame kicks in too, when they start getting a little bit of fame, they're like, ooh, this feels nice.
Mm-hmm.
And so let me ride that as long as I can. And I think that's what he did, is he just got the dopamine. It's just kept coming for him. And he just, he
was chasing the dragon. He just wanted to reconnect with that first taste of Zima. And he never could quite get back there. That first buzz, that first sip of Seagrams.
And I think too, based on his whole journey here and what he was researching, is my guess is that he fell down some dark holes on the internet at some point.
Oh, for sure.
And then God introduces some stuff that he maybe didn't plan on seeing, kind of as part of creating his narrative. And then it just hooked him, and it just it was always there potentially. And then as soon as he started seeing the images, it pulled him in, and then it became part of his story, and he's living this fantasy. Then he's also having this affair with Victoria, and he just completely spiraled after that. And, eventually he got caught.
Yep.
Good. Thank God. Fuck this guy. Also, it sounds like what he was really doing was he was playing into the COVID 2020. I have an illness. I have something wrong with my immune system or something, so that it's to delay those, because it was 2017, he planned to appeal. They filed an arrest warrant in 2018 because he wasn't showing up. And then he wasn't resentenced until November 30th, 2020. So he was delaying stuff for a really long time.
Yeah, I remember when this happened, because I remember seeing the articles that were coming out. It was 1,000% because of COVID. Yeah, he was using that to delay, as a lot of people
at the time
to delay their sentencing and stuff like that.
I picture him just running around outside a lot, just being like, "Please take me, please take me, please take me.
I'm ready to go
now or never. You got to get me out of here."
Well, they weren't. The aliens weren't there when he needed them most.
Right,
Nope. They were like, ooh. Child predator.
Guy.
We're done.
Yeah, exactly.
It's over.
See, that's why my theory. They're watching us from afar, and they're like, "These people are awful. We should just hit this planet with a laser and blow them up.
Just wipe them away."
Yeah, what a crazy story though. I mean, this one is I'm surprised there's not that much coverage of it anymore.
No,
it's kind of hard to find it.
At least for a dirtbag, he gave us several tidbits to laugh at.
Oh yeah. Maybe a future in comedy. I don't know.
yeah, exactly.
Unintentional.
If
comedy.
we remove the child stuff, and he, maybe he just owned up to this is my funny skit. Maybe a place on SNL or something.
Yes, for real.
I mean, he's got some. He's just a goofy
He's a
guy.
goofball.
Just a goofy.
He's a predator. He's a goofball. He's a liar.
I wonder if he's learned anything. You think he's learned anything, or he just keep this up?
I think pathological liars. The biggest lie is the one you tell yourself, right? So I think he's just convinced himself of all of his bullshit.
I'm sure he's learned that he can't be famous off of this stuff. I picture him now just being the guy at the end of the bar, who just you think you got screwed? Let me tell you a story. And he tries to hook people in. Man, 195 alien visits. And they shut me down with some bullshit. I'm not even going to tell you what it was.
Right.
He's that guy now.
He's still looking over his shoulder for Men in Black. Anybody in a black coat, he's like, oh.
He's ordering wine coolers, the mini wine coolers at the bar.
Exactly. Straw. Yeah, exactly. The big twirly straw. He has a pina colada down there. Let me talk to you about some
twirling his bike chain.
Right. Exactly. A little backpack with his flute in it.
Can't make this
the weirdest guy.
Man. This shit's wild.
He's definitely a character.
Yes.
That's for damn sure.
Well, Dan, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
That was so much fun.
Yeah, that was so much fun. No, you guys have a great show. I appreciate you letting me join for an episode.
Yeah. Of course. No, we appreciate you coming all the way out here. But tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, if you just go to badmagicproductions.com, you can link to everything I'm doing. But yeah, Time Suck is every Monday, a couple hours on true crime, cults, biographies, just conspiracies, all kinds of stuff. Definitely more of a critical thinking plus dark humor approach to these stories. And then I do Scared to Death with my wife, Lindsay. And we talk about all kinds of paranormal stuff and kind of tend to focus on things that freak us out the most. Just, shadow people, exorcisms, demonic possession, extreme hauntings, poltergeist activity, all that stuff. And so that's me.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, we're going to go and wrap up today right there. I could take a nap right now.
That was a big one.
Stan really drained the energy out of
It's a psychic vampire.
Yeah.
But we will see you guys next week. Until then, lights out, everybody.